This is Mike Klein of Chess.com. We are here at the second Millionaire Chess Open at Planet Hollywood in Las Vegas, Nevada. The place to be on a Friday night. Round 4 starts now.
Millionaire Chess is back. Back in Las Vegas with more players, top-rated players from the U.S. and around the world. Coming to you live from the ballrooms of Planet Hollywood. This is year 2 of Millionaire Chess. MC2 starts right now.
This is the view Gata Kamsky got when he tried to make it for his game. When he was 2 minutes beyond default time, Kamsky was declared lost, rules are rules, and all he got was an empty table. Then, Yusuf the Conqueror claimed that his opponent left his queen on a square where in fact it would have been captured. Moulin denied it, and with no witnesses, the arbiter gave it just a touch and move judgment. One big result was world number 6 Fabiano Caruana, who was held to a draw by Priyadarshan. In a better position, Fabi made a move that gave it all away. Caruana really needs to get his game back on, or Sunday could be the end of his run at Millionaire Chess. Now we're live, underway, round 4, and that is 600 people from 50 countries putting their blood and sweat on the chessboard for $1 million in Vegas. Hi, I'm Tanya Sachdev, and I'm back with Grandmaster Robert Hess. Hi, Robert. What a day.
Been a crazy day. Early morning games were brutal, and for some, the day started earlier than others. As you mentioned, Gata Kamsky came 2 minutes over the default time, and he was forfeited from his match. But we saw some upsets as well. Hikaru Nakamura was knocked off his perch atop the leaderboard, got nicked for half a point, so he sits behind the 10 leaders with 2.5 points. It's very exciting round 4 to come.
Lot of interesting results in round 3. Let's have a look. So these are the standings after round 3. As you see, a lot of our top players are going into round 4 with a full score, but board number 1, Wesley So, then there's Yu Yang and Lei Kwam Lim, but there are a lot of names missing from this list because Hikaru has dropped a point, half a point actually. Caruana has dropped a full point. So these are the players going into round 4 with a full score. Let's see what Lawrence has to tell us now. Over to you, Lawrence.
Well, the rounds didn't disappoint us, did they? A lot of action, a lot of drama, a lot of ups and downs, and a lot of upsets. And that's really what this tournament's all about. We love to see the underdog win. And in the previous round, well, the first major shock, it was a win, despite the way it was won. Gata Kamsky forfeiting his game, meaning that Artur Jakubiec, the Polish Grandmaster, had a free walk to 3 out of 3. An absolutely amazing result for him, who, of course, being the underdog in the game, he'll take the full point. And now he's in contention for a big prize. Gata Kamsky's going to have to do a lot of work to make it back up and try and fight for a Millionaire Monday spot. In other news, unfortunately, my man Fabiano Caruana, who had a relatively small edge out of the opening, managed to build on that and actually achieved a very promising position, only to blow it at the end. So now he has dropped a whole point with 2 draws. He's going to have to really fight hard to try and get back up there. And even the top seed, Hikaru Nakamura, as Tanya said, he dropped half a point against Popilski, who played a very decent game. And now we can see Hikaru with the white pieces against one of America's rising stars, an absolute bona fide talent. That is Samuel Sevian. I think he's 15 years old. Please correct me if I'm wrong there, Robert. I think he's 15. Already a very strong grandmaster, nearly 2,600. He is being really, he's being seen as part of this future generation of US chess, and there's absolutely no doubt that he's going to be handling himself amongst the upper echelons of US chess in a very short space of time. Hikaru's going to have a very difficult game despite having the white pieces. And there are various other big games. We have perhaps one of the most reliable and stable guys is actually our winner from last year, Wesley So. He has cruised through this tournament, and that really is no exaggeration. He has been absolutely splendid, and his his play so far really warrants his score, perfect score, 3 out of 3. Today, he's got a bit of a task against him, but by judging by his position at the moment against Durarbili, he's doing great. He beat Axel Rombaldoni, the Italian Grandmaster, in the last game, and today his position looks absolutely great, and we'll get that up in a moment. So, the guys at the top have already dropped points. They're going to have to really make up some ground in the next few rounds. Otherwise, the likes of So, Le Quang Liem, and Lucky Ray Robson. How about this guy? I mean, we talk about luck in Vegas. This guy has had his fair share. In last year's edition, he was lost in a number of crucial matches. I'm talking about completely busted, somehow wriggled out of it and managed to win. And earlier today, Ray Robson was completely lost against Alex Fishbane, the experienced Grandmaster. But Fishbane, in a moment of madness, allowed Ray Robson to drum up a whole load of counterplay and attack against his king, and Ray Robson actually converted it. So from a losing position to a winning position, that means he's on 3 out of 3. And now, again, he must feel so confident. This tournament really is his, and he'd love to make it to the final again, but we'll see how that all pans out. But all in all, so much action, so much drama. And remember, it's not just the top guys we're covering. We are looking at all of the amateur games as well, the under 2200, 2000, 1800 sections, and so on and so forth, because there's some great games there and huge cash prizes. So I'm absolutely delighted to be here again, and I'm sure we're going to have a very fun evening together.
Absolutely, Lawrence. I am totally loving all the drama, and these are the matchups for tonight that we're going to be looking at. Going into round 4, you will see a lot of changes on the top board. So we've got Wesley So, who will be on board number 1 because Hikaru and Caruana both have dropped points. So it's Wesley So versus Durarbili on board number 1. Board number 2, we've got Yu Yangyi from China versus Ortiz. And on board number 3, we've got Holt versus Le Quang Liem, a Vietnamese who has been playing so strong in this tournament, winning all his games super convincingly. Board 4, we've got Chakubik versus Ray Robson, another very lucky guy in Vegas who's made it into round 4 with 3 out of 3. These are our big matchups for tonight that you're seeing on the screen, and we're going to be looking into all the action.
Yeah, absolutely, Tanya. And the 5th board actually is our last set of undefeated players. Farai Mandija is kind of the surprise of the event so far. He's an international master, originally from Zimbabwe, and now is located he stays in New York. I've seen him many occasions. We played a number of times. And Farai, he can upset anyone. And right now he's 3 out of 3. He's competing not just for his class prize, as he can make the Final Four Millionaire Monday for that. And here's Farai on screen. He's a very confident individual. He's absolutely hilarious. I mean, if you talk with the guy, he's so fun to be around. Here he's playing Evgeny Bareyev. And why don't we take a look at that game first, because Farai is a fabulous player and a super exciting one at that. And he has the white pieces in this current position. And he just put his rook on F1 to C1, seizing the open file, potentially bringing the rook down to C7 at the right moment. And look at these knights. The knights on H4 and E5 put immense pressure on the pawn on G6. And the knight on E4 for black, it looks nice. It's very well positioned, protected by 2 pawns, but it really isn't doing all that much. So right now, Farai Mandija on the upper hand in this current position. I mean, it remains to be seen if he can milk that advantage to a full point. But Tanya, I'm really liking his position here.
I agree, Robert. Farai against a very experienced Bareyev seems to be doing pretty well in this position. What are your thoughts on some of the other games?
Yeah, why don't we go to the top board between Wesley So and Vasif Durarbili. And this game is fascinating. Right now, the current position is what you see on the board. The last move was the absolutely menacing knight to D5, ignoring the fact that the bishop is on G5. But you might be wondering, how did we get to this crazy position where the black king is on F7 and a white has a pawn on F6? Well, I'll take you back a few moves just to the critical moment here. Black played this move, pawn to G6. And it looks like, okay, black is going to develop the bishop in the long diagonal by fianchettoing via bishop G7, but it actually runs into the tactical mistake by black and allows E5. And if you see Vasif on screen, he's head in his hand, he's been like that for a while because E5 is a great tactical shot. The idea is that pawn takes E5, well, you just run into bishop takes B7, and after pawn takes D4, well, I can just capture your rook on C8, and white ends up up an exchange with a winning position. So instead, after the move pawn to e5, he went bishop takes g2, but then simply pawn takes f6. So now the bishop here on g2 is under attack. You see the rook is on open line to that king on e8, and you have to retreat, bishop to a8, and after a nice move, bishop to g5, you cannot protect this pawn on e6 because the threat is if, as we see, knight e5, knight takes e6. If you capture back on e6, as happened in the game, well, the idea originally was to go f7 check, and after f7, king takes, bishop takes d8, looks like it wins a queen, but in fact, it's not so easy because of the move knight f3 check, and it gets really messy here. So instead of rushing into this, we see that the cool, calm, and collected Wesley So, last year's $1 million man here, he went after knight e5, went rook, knight takes e6, f6, and rook takes e5, getting rid of that knight from coming to f3, and now the threat of f7 check is real. So black went queen d7, getting the queen off this diagonal here, so there's no pressure from the bishop. Oh, and rook e3, king f7, just trying to block that pawn. Queen g4, launching an attack with the queen and the rook on e6, and h6, and now made the wonderful move knight d5. So right now, this pawn on b6 is a target. The knight is trying to take there, which would fork both the queen and the rook on c8. So right now, it's all Wesley So. And Tanya, I mean, it's just brutal out there.
Wesley is definitely dominating this position. I mean, this is some energetic and combative play by him. This also shows his confidence going into round 4 with 3 out of 3, and not just 3 out of 3, normally with very convincing wins. And you can see he's feeling really good about his game. I mean, if you look at this position, white seems to be dominating, and he's not even a pawn down here. I mean, there is no material imbalance. This definitely seems to be a very good start for Wesley. Lawrence, what are your thoughts on this?
No, it's the kind of position that we all love to watch and see a top player play. It's an attack. He's literally launching his whole army at black, and there's really not much he can do. The computer suggests the move rook to e8 here, but that is a really difficult move to play. Not because it's difficult to see, but rather it's a really passive move, and you're kind of admitting that things are really that bad. And even here, the pawn is pinned, so you can't threaten the knight. You could even play a move like bishop to h4 here, just keeping the bishop. And black is so short of moves. He's almost in Zugzwang. That means that any move that he makes actually worsens his position. I can't see a clear good move. White's follow-up is very simple. He can always take the pawn on b6 if he likes, to then take the bishop on a8, and then there might even be a combination on e6, or, as most people would do, he'd bring his remaining piece into the game. The rook can swing across to e1 and then bear down on this e6 point, and there are all kinds of tactics in the air there that Durarbilly almost certainly won't be able to counter. So I think the position, practically speaking, is probably very, very close to losing, unless Durarbilly finds an amazing defense. But over the board, playing this, I can tell you, is a complete nightmare, and it wouldn't surprise me if Wesley So actually won this quite quickly and went on to 4 out of 4. So it's going to be a very good birthday for Wesley So. Let's not forget, it's his 22nd birthday today. Happy birthday again, Wesley. And I'm sure, as he did last year when it was his 21st birthday, he had 2 wins. And this year, he would very much like the same. And you can see he's so confident. And a confident Wesley So is a very dangerous prospect. Recently, he's had a couple of tough tournaments playing against the top guys in the world. But when he puts together a few wins in a row, he's very dangerous. And remember, not so long ago, he had one of the best streaks in chess history. I believe he went, I can't remember how many games unbeaten, but it was in the 40s, and that's huge at this level. So Wesley So, the man to beat at the moment.
Absolutely, Lawrence. He's definitely going to have a good birthday with 2 wins. An early night, it seems it's going to be, so he's going to have the night to himself to enjoy in Vegas. Sounds like a good birthday. I mean, honestly, I look at this position and I have no idea how black is going to even get out of this mess. It does indeed look like Durarbilly is going to have a very tough time sleeping tonight.
Yeah, and these are former teammates at Webster University. Of course, Wesley So no longer goes to Webster, but Vasif Durarbilly is a student there, along with Ray Robson, Laquang Liam. So a huge Webster University contingent in this field. but unfortunately for Durabelli, the former Webster student is going to beat the current one, and it's really ugly. As you said, Tanya, there's nothing really to do, and as Lauren said, a move like Rook E8, as we discussed, I mean, it's just a passive move. It's defensive, but really Black can only hope that he can survive. There's no attacking chances for him, and it's very, very ugly. As we see the statistics on screen, 87% in White's favor. I mean, it's almost a sure thing at this point, and as we said, it's his 22nd birthday. Happy birthday, Wesley So, and it looks pretty much all but over.
Right. Let's have a look at our other top board.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go down the line here and look at Yang Yu playing Ortiz. And, oh, here we have Alyssa Melakina, and I believe we have a feature on her, so let's listen to that.
That is Alyssa, and she, I believe, is also a lawyer in New York.
Yeah, I think we'll learn more about her in the upcoming feature.
Well, my name is Alyssa Melakina. I am an FM, and I currently live and work in New York City. I'm a general litigator right now, but I focus on intellectual property litigation, so copyrights, trademarks, media, false advertising, and I was actually inspired by my experiences in chess to go into that field. And I also do white-collar criminal defense and some commercial disputes. Well, I'm enjoying white collar a lot more than I thought I would. When I do white collar, I'm acting more like an investigator and a detective than a lawyer. So what we usually do is we go into companies that are investigated by the government or that are going through an internal investigation, and we'll interview employees, get a lot of information before we proceed with our case. So I end up doing quite a bit of those interviews. And that's when I got the most experience being a lawyer. That's the first time I felt like a lawyer, when I was out there in the field actually doing that. Well, chess and law have a lot of overlapping skills in terms of critical thinking, decision making, and it's all about problem solving. And especially in litigation, when you're trying to think of the arguments that your adversary is going to make, being trained in how to think ahead and anticipate and risk manage helps a lot. I also do ballet. I've been trained in classical ballet and points since I was 6 years old. I picked it up at around the same time as I did with chess. They're both very traditional Eastern European activities to do. So my dad taught me chess when I was 5 and a half, and then I also picked up ballet. And now that I moved to New York City, I continued with ballet. I've also branched out into jazz a bit, so just trying to challenge myself. But I love dancing, and it's as much a part of my life as chess is. Well, I'm in an interesting situation because I can't study as much as I used to, and I do have a full-time job and other activities. So what I try and do is keep up with tactics and stay sharp, because when I go and play in a tournament after I haven't played in a long time, that's the first thing that falls is tactics, and I start blundering even if I'm on form. So I just have to keep looking at chess. Usually I try not to resort to tricks where I'd have to psych an opponent out. But I definitely look out for body language when I play. So I'll see how nervous they are, their hand gestures. A lot of times, like, chess players will tap their foot up and down. So there are a lot of these things that you can pick up on, and I've ended up using those tactics quite a bit. All I want to do is keep options open, and I definitely want chess to be a part of my life.
Wow, Robert. So she can dance, she's a lawyer, and she's a really strong chess player. Is there anything this girl can't do?
I don't know. If there is, I don't know about it. But I've known Alyssa for a very, very long time. We've been friends since we were young kids. We played at many events together. And she currently has 1 out of 3 in this tournament. She played 2 Grandmasters in the first 2 games. Unfortunately, lost those. But I saw her in the hallway earlier today, and she's like, I won my game of 21 moves. This is just what I needed to get back into this event. So it's not over for her. It's still early. And she's a very great person, a very exciting chess player as well.
Right, and she's also part of the U.S. women team.
Yeah, in the past, she's won a gold medal for the U.S. women's team in the World Team Championship, an individual performance, amazing. And she's very, very talented. She's just, she's so multidimensional. She's a lawyer, she's a dancer. So she doesn't spend all her time on chess. If she did, she'd be an even stronger player than she already is.
True, we're definitely going to be watching out for Alyssa. Let's also move on and see what is happening on some of our other top boards.
Yeah, let's just take a look on board 2 here between Yang Yu and Isan Ortiz Suarez, the Cuban Grandmaster with the black pieces here. And it looks at first glance that the Chinese grandmaster is on the upper hand. He has the white pieces in this position that we have here. And black just made the move pawn to b4, which is a very common break. He goes b4, the king is on b1 here. It becomes a bit unsafe if you can open up the b file, put a rook on b8, and then try to checkmate that white king. But unfortunately for black, that bishop on f6 combined with the pawn on h6 looks like white's attack is much stronger than black's. And a move like a takes b4 here looks like very natural response. And if you go knight takes b4, well, the move f5. Here we see that white is crashing through, threatening pawn takes e6, which can be followed by a move like bishop to g4, and white's attack is coming very quickly. Sure, white has to be very careful not to get checkmated himself, but white's attack is very quick here, and that king on g8 is looking quite loose. And for me, it looks like white is very much favored in this position.
I have to say that white's attack definitely looks more dangerous than black's in this position. What is going on our board 3?
Yeah, let's just go down the line here. We have Conrad Holt with the white pieces against Lequang Liem. And Conrad is a young American talent. He, I believe he's in his early 20s. He's gone to University of Texas at Dallas, an amazing chess school. And here he is, the white pieces against Lequang Liem. Liem, as we've mentioned time and time again, he goes to Webster University, part of that very strong contingent. And on the board itself, with the white pieces, Conrad Holt is doing absolutely fine. He's outrated by quite a large margin, but the position is very equal. In fact, I think it's quite dry. He just made this move, knight takes knight on d7. So black has to capture back on d7 with the knight. And here, any move really, but let's say pawn to e4, gaining some space in the center. But black has no real weaknesses, nor does white, but it's very solid structure for both sides. So I think this game will be steering towards equality. Sure, at the moment, the rook on d1 is nicely placed on the open d file, but that rook on c8 is also doing a lot here on this file. So as the statistics show, 51% to 49%, that's very equal, almost as equal as they come, except for 50-50. And Conrad, look at him. He doesn't stop bouncing. I mean, he looks like he's a basketball being dribbled over there. He's going up and down nonstop. And, he's very, very concentrated. I've played him on numerous occasions and very strong player, but, that's not nervous. As Alyssa said in her thing that people have these tells, that's not a tell for him. That's just how he is.
Right. Well, we're going to find out if Lequang Liem is going to manage to make Conrad nervous soon or not. But Lequang Liem's style, I feel generally he really enjoys playing these solid positions in these long games. He's from Webster. Talking about Webster University, I mean, that's got a really strong presence here at Millionaire Chess. And I'm quite amazed. I always see Paul and Susan there supporting their players. It's pretty great.
Yeah, that's Paul Trong, one of the coaches for Webster University, and Susan Polgar, former women's world champion, the first female to become a grandmaster. An amazing, amazing woman and an inspiration to everyone in the chess world. And they coach that fabulous team over at Webster University. And they have, like you said, immense talent in this tournament. It's great that they bring their team here. They also have Ilya Nizhnik, one of the elite grandmasters in this event as well. So a huge presence by Webster University.
A lot of Webster players on our top boards. And that is the view from our tournament hall. Alex taking a little yawn. It's been a long day for him, but he's still got a long game to play as well. Lawrence, over to you.
Yes, it is a very long day, 2 rounds a day, and we've already seen how some of the top players who are not used to playing 2 rounds a day are struggling. Fabiano Caruana, Hikaru Nakamura, these guys aren't even on 100%, and the big question is whether they do have the stamina and they do have the practice almost to play 2 games a day. Normally at these elite events they play 1 game a day, they even have a few rest days thrown in there, they like to be fresh. And in this tournament, quite simply, if you have a very long game in the morning, you're pretty much forced to play again straight afterwards. And that is tough. And the stamina aspect is important. Samuel Sevian, as we have here on screen, well, he's used to playing 2 games a day because he's a US junior. In the US, it's very common to play 2 games a day in tournaments. But in Europe, it's certainly not. And at the elite level, it's definitely not. So it's interesting to see, and perhaps we can even go to the game because this is a really important matchup. Hikaru Nakamura has to try and win. He's going to try and press with the white pieces. Anything but a win will be a huge disappointment for Hikaru today. This is the position as we see as it stands. And Hikaru's just made the move pawn to f4, and I have to say I quite like his position. He's gained space on the king side. He controls some very important squares in the center, e5 and d4. His pieces are well placed. That said, black is very solid. Black hasn't really got any major weaknesses. Black's bishop on h7 is bearing down on the long diagonal and making white's maneuvering options a bit more difficult. It's difficult to say exactly what's happening. I would say I would slightly prefer white because I think his plan is he's going to put his bishop onto b2. I think that's the idea of f4. And you can see that the pawns on d2, e3, and f4, they actually support this bishop along the long diagonal. And he's going to try and battery up that diagonal. What that means is he'll put the bishop on b2, and in an ideal world, he'll put the queen on c3 and basically threaten mate and force black to make a concession, and then from there he'll build on his position. So that's Hikaru's strategy. Hikaru's away from the board at the moment. I'm sure Samuel Sevian has realized this. Samuel Sevian's got about 15 minutes less than Hikaru, but they've played 15 moves. He's not really in time trouble just yet, but he's going to have to come up with a very good plan because Hikaru's idea is so self-evident, and Sam needs to find something to combat this, but not an easy task whatsoever.
Right, Lawrence. It's definitely going to be an evening full of on-board action, but we also have some very interesting off-board action for you from the confessional booth.
Hey, this is Maximilian Meinhardt from Germany again. I was here in the first round playing against Grandmaster Shimanov, and somehow I managed to get back into the live broadcast again. I'm playing against Ramirez, board 15 this time with black. He arrived 10 minutes late, so I was a bit worried that he had the time to prepare against my Tarrasch defense because he was sitting right next to me last time. But anyway, it's just a bonus game here. I really like Ramirez's commentary and how he explains structures, videos. But there are some good signs. I'm facing Magnus Carlsen. He's just smiling at me on this poster. And my name tag on the board says that I'm a grandmaster, but I'm just a weak international master. But let's just hope that these are propitious omens for this round. I wish all of you an exciting round who are watching this here on Millionaire Chess or on Chess24, and see you.
Hey everybody, my name is Nicholas Huschenbeet. I play on board 9 against Samuel Shanklin right now. The opening is about over. It's a French, and he tricked around a little bit with the move order, so I'm not quite sure what's going on. He kept his knight on g8, which is unusual in the variation we're playing, and I've just sacrificed a pawn, so we'll see if he's going to accept it. I kind of hope so, because it's going to make the game much more interesting. The pawn h2 is hanging right now. He could take it with the bishop, but I think I will have decent compensation for it because all my pieces are out, and I hope I will get some kind of attack or something going on. So we'll see what's going to happen. All right, see you guys. Bye.
Hello everyone, I'm Daim Shabazz. I'm playing in the under 2200 section. And I have a very interesting game. It was a Sicilian, an open Sicilian. I played the Paulson. And my opponent, Randall Burns, played knight bd2, and I was able to get an early d5. So I think I'm standing in good shape, and we'll see how the game goes. But anyway, I run a website called The Chess Drum, and I've been taking a lot of good pictures and hope to do some good interviews. I'm a little bit behind on the coverage, but hopefully I'll catch up in between playing games, and hopefully you all will enjoy the rest of the tournament. It's a wonderful event, and hope to see you next year if you can't make it this year. Bye-bye.
I'm Evan Valens, and I have a nice King's Indian against my opponents. I I think I'm feeling pretty good about this game.
Hi, I'm Tim Brennan from Colorado Springs, and I'm having a rough tournament so far. I lost my first 3 games, but now I'm down a pawn on the bottom board of the under 2000 section, but have a bit of an attack going, so I'm like the guy from Dumb and Dumber saying, so you're telling me there's a chance. So thanks, Maurice and Amy. This is an awesome tournament, and this is my second time here. I'm having a great time. So thanks. Bye.
They're playing their games. Gotta love the confessional booth. We're gonna go into a commercial break and we'll be right back.
On Millionaire Monday, after 5 grueling days of competition, 9 players claimed the bragging rights and the biggest cash prizes. But there's no rest for the weary. 9 division winners will have a shot at becoming a millionaire. Here it is, 64 squares on the chessboard. Each has a prize, $1 million.
Amy Lee with Maurice Ashley there. Now, Amy said that she believes in the whole go big or go home philosophy. And I think that's what she was thinking about when she came up with the Millionaire Square. So that's another reason to look forward to Millionaire Monday. One person is going to get a chance to win an entire $1 million. So on Millionaire Monday, we're going to have 9 winners from each division who are going to play a game show format, and it's got nothing to do with chess. And if the winner of that is going to get a chance to pick one envelope out of 64, and if he gets the right one, he becomes a millionaire that very moment. What do you think about that, Robert?
It's absolutely insane. I mean, if you told me I could go pick some envelopes and become a millionaire after that, I would tell you you're crazy. But it's a great addition to this year's Millionaire Chess Open. It makes it very exciting. And you know, after the chess is all said and done, well, there's still $1 million to be earned by picking the correct envelope. So it's kind of like, you know, just land on that number, the right square, and you got yourself $1 million prize.
Right, we'll just have to wait for Monday for that. Until then, let's get back to some of our onboard action. Lawrence, what have you got for us?
Well, I've got a lot of things for you, a lot of which I cannot talk about on air. However, the things I'm going to talk about on air are right behind me, the games of chess. And we've already had a result, I believe, in the amateur section, Worry versus Shtabsky, excuse me for my pronunciation there. We had a win for Worry. I think that's the under 2000 section. Please correct me if I'm wrong. I'm correct there. And a great win, I beg your pardon, I just said worry when I didn't mean that, of course. I meant the other way around, hence why it says won here. It was Stabsky who won. That means that he goes to 4-0. That means that he's in for a big shot of winning the big $40,000 prize in his section. And if we go further down, we've also had a win. We've had Gopri Krishnan win another game. He has been on fire this tournament. He has won every game so convincingly. He moves to 4-0. He beats Anton Butenko. And, well, the position's completely dead. As we see here, he's got 1 million more pieces, which is normally enough. So he's a hot favorite to win his game. I wonder if he gets any kind of challenge. If we go over to the open section, though, one of the games that I saw, caught my eye before, was the game between Shimonov and Denis Boros. Now, Denis Boros was playing the last round against, I believe it was Yevgeny Naya, if I remember correctly, and he was completely winning. I mean, he had a great position. He had a passed A-pawn. He had a rook and bishop versus rook and knight, but somehow he didn't end up winning it. And that might have dented his confidence, affected him psychologically, because now, against Shimonov, he is completely busted. Shimonov has just taken bishop takes knight, and after whatever happens, let's say it was knight takes bishop, rook to e1 check is all that she wrote. You're going to win the queen by force. And if you play queen takes knight instead of bishop takes knight, then again, any move, queen to b8 followed by rook. After king f7, rook to b7 wins the queen. Essentially, you're winning the queen in all lines, and white will win. And in fact, we've just had the result come in. So, unfortunate day for Denis Boros, who had great chances of doing something in his rating category. Had he won this morning, he'd be really in there. Instead, he got half out of 2 today, and he's going to have a real fight on his hands. But a lot of great chess, and as we can see, a lot of the lower-rated players who are really making a big push, and there's so much on the line that they're really determined and have a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, many of them.
A very, very awful game for Denis Boros right there. And we are going to go to Maurice. He's got a very special guest with him.
I am with women's grandmaster Vita Krivoruchko of the Ukraine. She was the under-14 champion, girls champion, and under-16 girls champion as well when she was a youngster, a chess prodigy. But we have the story from last round, Vita. Please tell us what happened. You forfeited your game from round 3.
Yes, I missed my game because I thought that the round will be at 12, and I came here. I saw there are no people near security, and I understood something wrong. And then I asked people what happened around at 12 or maybe at 11, and they said yes at 11. So I knew my result because we can late on at 30 minutes. I was very sad, but okay, I tried to find some pluses in the situation.
You say some pluses. This has ever happened to you before, and how did you react afterwards?
It's first time, and I hope last time. And okay, I was very sad, of course. I didn't cry, but I tried to find, as I told you, some pluses. For example, I slept 1 hour more. Also, I took my breakfast because I had no time for this. Also, I rest before the next round. And I'm happy that arbiter told me that next round will be at 6 because I thought that it will be at 7.
Didn't you read the schedule?
Yes, I saw, but I don't know why. I thought that maybe before yesterday round was at 12 and 7, and I was sure that today the same.
Okay, so you now have completed this round pretty quickly as well. What happened in your game?
I played with not strong player, and I win very quickly. It's true. And as I told you, I rest very well before the next round, so that's why maybe also.
So despite this unfortunate result that you had in round 3, how are you enjoying Vegas?
Very well. I like city very much, and I rest a lot here.
Do you have plans to go out now that you have all this time tonight?
Yes, I want to go for show Blue Man, something like this.
Blue Man Group?
Yes.
Well, you're in Vegas. You get a chance to enjoy it. Thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome.
That's women's grandmaster Vita Krivoruchko after an unfortunate result in round 3, winning her game quickly in round 4, and is now off to enjoy the night in Vegas. Guys?
This is what I love about Millionaire Chess. Vita coming all the way from Ukraine, got the timing wrong, forfeits a round, but she found her silver lining. And in a city like this, it's really hard to be upset for too long.
Yeah, and if she's going to be seeing the Blue Man Group, she'll have a great time tonight. But a very unfortunate third round for her. She, clearly didn't know the round time, but she took full responsibility. And what can you do? She has to fight back in the next few games.
Absolutely, Robert. Talking about fighting on the board, let's have a look at Ilya's game. That looks really interesting.
Yeah, and Ilya Nizhnik is black against Christian Chirila, and that's actually a good buddy of mine. We've been hanging out here at the tournament, and here he is the white side of this position. They've actually repeated moves. So after the move pawn to d4, queen h8 check, king f7, queen h5 check, king to f8, and now Christian with the white pieces is spending some time, and he can repeat the moves if he'd like. But I would also consider making this move pawn to c6. We count the pawns, 4 on 4. The pawn on a5 is now under attack. This pawn on c6 is very far down the board, and we've opened up a check on c5 for our queen as well to try to gobble up the pawn on d4. So after c6, a move like d3 is quite tempting, but I don't know, after a move like queen c5 check, queen blocks on e7 trying to trade queens, a queen trade actually, to me, seems like white. I mean, white goes up a pawn immediately, and it might kind of liquidate into a draw eventually, but white has the upper hand for sure.
Right, Robert. Ilya, another Webster boy, in fact. This position, let's not forget that Christian is down to 6 minutes. Ilya's got an hour and 20 minutes. Probably Christian is considering repeating his moves because he's got a big time disadvantage going right now. And it's not exactly clear how much better he is.
Yeah, it's not clear exactly how much better he is, but it seems pretty simple just to, you trade the queens off the board, you go up a pawn. It's not a very difficult variation. So if I were Christian with the white pieces, he just went under 5 minutes, it looks like. So he has to be careful about his time management, but it seems quite simple to go for that. So I would try it. I mean, he's 2.5 out of 3, both players do, and this is the round to take a bit of a chance. It's pretty risk-free chance as well. So Christian should try to make that push to c6 and go for the win.
He did make a move, in fact. Let's have a look at what he played.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like Ilya has his head in his hand, so maybe he doesn't like the response that Christian went with, and it looks like he did make this move pawn to c6. So he clearly knew that he is in the driver's seat, he's no risk, and now the pawn a5 is under attack as mentioned, and this idea with queen c5 check. So Christian, if he can pull through this one, that'd be huge for him. I know he's very excited to play in this event, and I mean, he's had a good showing thus far.
Right. I've had a bit of interaction with him, and you talk to him and you can feel he's the kind of guy who wants a fight on the board. He is not one to let it go easy.
Yeah, and we see they're making moves quite quickly at this point. And I think Christian is doing that just to make sure that he reaches move 40 as quickly as possible. So the moves are coming in. It looks like the move rook c2 was played, and you had queen h8 check, king f7, and then queen back to h5, followed by king f8. And now you might consider just going rook takes a5. And you gobble up this pawn here. The rook swings into the action. If rook takes c6, I might consider just going g3, making space for my king. And black's king is way worse than white's. And the pawn on d4, while it looks like a pass pawn, it might become a target. So this is something I would go for. The rook at some point wants to come to a7 and launch into the 7th rank and create some deadly threats. So Christian should be very happy with the position that he has on the board.
Definitely liking white here. Let's see what Christian does, but meanwhile, let's have a look at some of our other boards.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's look at David Bursey. This is one of our, well, at least one of my favorite players because he was so close last year, and seeing him get that upset was really heart-wrenching. And so right now, he is the black piece against Alex Lenderman. Lenderman, a very talented U.S. player, has been around this 26-20, 26-30, some great performances this year, including beating Vasily Ivanchuk. And here he has the white pieces, but he doesn't have all that much. The last move was knight over to h4, which is actually quite a good move. And the idea is that, if, for example, rook to, well, I don't even know where you want to move your rook. Let's say rook to e1, trying to double on the e-file. Well, maybe I just bring this knight into the game to g6, and once my knight comes, this knight is stuck to e2 because otherwise the knight jumps into f4. For example, knight c3 is already a losing move because of knight f4, and you can't protect your pawn on g2. So it's very difficult for white to improve his position. So Lenderman, he can't get overly ambitious because that could backfire.
Right, looks like a tough position for Alexander here. One thing I've noticed in this tournament is that we've got so many kids participating here. It's quite amazing. And the tournament hall is so beautiful because there are these big portraits of world champions all over, and these young kids are definitely getting inspired by them. And when we look around the playing hall, it's impossible not to notice how many young players have signed up to compete. For some of these kids, chess is everything. For others, it's just one of a few amazing talents. Let's hear the stories of 3 young players who traveled to Vegas for Millionaire Chess. Plus, Grandmaster Alejandro gives us his perspective on playing opposite a much younger player.
My name is Jonathan Chen. I'm 7 years old. I was born on December 29, 2007. I'm in 2nd grade. I like to do math, science. I like to draw. I like to play badminton. Yeah, my mom and my dad both play chess. I always beat my dad. I'm not afraid to play anyone.
We had this 6-year-old kid who came into the commentary room. Just seeing that, this young player here, dressed incredibly well, by the way.
My name is Turner Goff. I'm 13 years old, and I'm from Nashville, Tennessee. Well, I actually go to Las Vegas a lot for like the National Open, the North American Open, and the Millionaire Tournament. And you can't really win prize money in Nashville, and a lot of players there are like 1900, and that's the top rating, and for like kids, so not really many high-rated kids are there. Well, they're 1900, that's good, but like there's some people in the open section that are still kids here, and I just like playing for prize money. I'm pretty much doing school as in Chinese, just regular school, and that's pretty much it. I do a lot of chess, so I'm going to write a book this year about Kid to Kid Chess. Well, Kid to Kid Chess is a company that tries to get beginners to stay into chess when they first start, because when people first start chess, they go to the first tournament, don't know what to do, and they quit chess because it's too hard to figure out the stuff to do. And also, Kid to Kid Chess is for people who's gone to Scholastic tournaments but want to go to open tournaments. We're gonna have free videos on there, and then in the book, there's going to be more information about getting your kid into chess and going to open tournaments.
I know Turner from actually last year at this exact tournament. We met like during the Blitz tournament, and we've seen each other at like the North American Open and some other tournaments between now and then. I'm Evan Valens. I am 11 years old, and I am from Los Angeles, California. When I'm not playing chess, well, I go to school, I have to do homework, normal kid stuff. I play a lot of video games. Sometimes I study chess, and I like play sports just for fun, not like competitively. There is a chess club at school. None of the players are really my level. I go to like a chess class every Wednesday, and I chess tournament, like they do one game every week. So yeah, I just do stuff like that. Well, I want to be master by high school, like 2200 rating. Psych out an opponent. I play really aggressive openings normally. I like to throw all my pieces out there.
If there's someone I don't want to play as a kid, it's never good to play kids. They're underrated, they know everything, they come up with all these good ideas and they're all new, and it's like, I don't want to play kids. They're the worst.
I have to agree with Alejandro there. Kids are dangerous to play with. And as Jonathan said, that he's not afraid to play anyone. And that's 9-year-old Arthur Kula on the board. He's from the United States. Just look at him on the board with full focus. It's 9:30 in Vegas, and here's a kid giving it all on the chessboard.
Yeah, and how could you beat that kid? I mean, like, how could you beat him in a game of chess? He looks so kind. I mean, look at this guy. I think that's the qualifier from Jamaica, if I'm not mistaken. He won the satellite tournament, and he's here playing in the event. But how could you beat this kid in the game of chess? He's look how nice he looks. He can barely keep his eyes open. You know,
the thing is, looks are really deceptive. You don't beat him, he's gonna beat you.
Yeah, and it actually looks like he's a quite decent position here on the board. So yeah, don't want to underestimate this guy right here. But look at him, he's like falling asleep. It's past his bedtime.
Right, Robert. That's another kid who is leaning on the board, thinking what to do here now. But you know what I like is that all these kids are playing in the same tournament hall with some of the world's best players. That is so much inspiration to improve your game, such great opportunity, and there are very few tournaments that offer that.
Yeah, definitely. Very, very few tournaments. In fact, almost none, perhaps absolutely zero, offer the chance for these young players and these amateur players to compete side by side in the ropes with some of the world's most elite talent. And here's an example of one of those games that I pulled up here. In the under 2200 section, as white, we have PP Pachura versus Jeremy Keller. White is rated 2175, black 2149. But in this position, it looks like black was just dominating. He goes king to f7, king to g2, and king to e6. He's just trying to bring his king over to the defense of these pawns. And at some point, if I'm white, I consider sacrificing on b4. That sacrifice goes as follows. Rook takes, bishop takes, rook takes, bishop on b4, and after rook takes a3, white has 3 pawns to 1 for black. Sure, black has the extra knight, but if we can trade that last pawn, it's absolutely a draw. So you have to keep that in mind if you're white in this position, that you might need a sacrifice. And instead, he actually moved his king towards the center. You hardly fault him for doing that. King f3, and knight d6 was played. So again, maybe now is the right time to sacrifice your bishop on b4 for those 2 past queenside pawns. So if I'm white, I think I might go for that now, because otherwise they can become too much to handle.
Right, that does look like a very, very important defense resource in this position. It might just be the only one, in fact, because these pawns on b4 and a3 look very menacing. Lawrence, your thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. That position looks great. And look at this young man over here, donned out in the Don jacket. Love that. And it's amazing to see when these youngsters play, they really do put everything into it. They are so focused. And well, you can see we've got an amazing position here, actually. Looks as though, my goodness, I don't know what's going on. They can't see it quite clearly, but youngsters from all over the world are playing. It really is a young man's game. We see it with every year that passes, that in chess, the best players in the world are becoming younger. It used to be the fact that it was the old grandmasters who were the experienced grandmasters. They were the voices that everybody listened to, and to a certain extent that kind of player still exists. But if you look at the world's top players now, there really are a whole bunch of very, very young players dominating the elite ranks, and there's a reason for that. And in this game, it looks as though there's going to be a repetition. If the white player here decides to play queen e5 check, it might be a repetition by force, but just the concentration needed. It's so good for these youngsters, and I think one of the things that we should mention, and what a lot of very important people in the world of chess are doing, is promoting the benefits of chess outside of the board. That's the academic benefits of it. It really does improve concentration, critical thinking. It improves planning, and we actually have a draw there by repetition. But all of these skills can be used later on, especially if these young talents don't decide to pursue a career in chess. They're going to be able to use the skills elsewhere. They are very transferable. So a draw here, and we're going to see many more youngsters. And I'd love to see one of the very young guys pick up a huge check. Imagine that, a $30,000, $40,000 prize for one of these youngsters. Wouldn't that be a story? And what a life-changing moment. But these are the sorts of stories that will really make this tournament and make...
And yeah, that kid was pretty amazing. And you know what the thing is, when you're playing them, they don't fear you. But it's always, there's this pressure that it is so embarrassing if you lose against like a 6-year-old. That pressure really, really does play on you. And they're just getting stronger. Like you said, chess is getting younger. I mean, when you got a world champion who's 23 years old, what do you expect?
Yeah, and it feels really embarrassing to lose a game like that. And, you know, that kid's hands were barely big enough to hold that pencil. You know, imagine that big check for winning the grand prize. There's no way he can hold that up. But clearly played very well, held a draw in that position. His king was exposed, but he was good enough to manage.
Right, Robert. Let's have a look at some of our top boards now.
Yeah, why don't we go over to the game between Hikaru Nakamura and Samuel Sevian. It looks like a great place to start, right, Tanya?
Exactly.
And so here we see that the white has just gone bishop to b2. And we left off a couple moves ago after the move f4, a move we really liked here, gained space, it controls a lot of the important central squares. And black retreated bishop to e7, and Hikaru just went full force, f5. It looks like you're losing a pawn on h4 after bishop h4, g takes h4, and move like queen takes h4. But really, it's not worth the trouble. Bishop to b2 is one possibility. Rook to f4 is also possible at the right moment. I mean, a lot is going on in white's favor here, as just one pawn to black's benefit, but a really vicious attack will ensue. So instead of getting rid of his bishop, he went knight to e5. And if they move bishop b2, to me it looks like Sevian is almost lost already. It's just a very terrible position here. And look at him studying the board right now. He made the move f6. That is a tragic move to have to make here. Look at that bishop on e7 now. It's stuck behind his pawns. The bishop on h7 has no future. And if I'm white, well, one, I consider the immediate move pawn to d4, gaining more space in the center, kicking that knight from e5. If you bring your knight into c4, I just go retreat simply with bishop to c1, and the idea is so simple. I'm going to remove this knight at some point and try to push my pawn in the center. And what can black even do here? There's nothing really going on for black. It's just terrible position, very cramped.
Absolutely. Hikaru is definitely smiling on the inside right now. Lawrence, what have you got for us in this position?
Well, there might be an even more convincing route to victory if we can bring the board back up there. After f6, you might be able to just lock that guy off on e5. Looks kind of counterintuitive, but the idea is that you play bishop takes e5, f takes e5, and now I move like knight g6. And basically what you're saying is, well, if you take my knight on g6, I take back. And look at the minor piece differences. This knight on e4 is what is otherwise known as an octopus. It's never ever going to be removed. On top of that, this pawn on g6 acts as a real brilliant piece to help an attack. You can play queen b3 check followed by rook f7. There's pressure down the long diagonal. This looks like an extremely pleasant position as well for white. I think he's got a number of routes. I think this route is the one I choose because there's just no hope for Sevian here. There's no counterplay. I can't even find a move. You can't move the knight because the b7 pawn's hanging. You can't take the pawn on a3 with the bishop because of queen b3 check or queen a2 check, picking up a piece. So what actually can you do here? I think the computer's giving the move king to h8, which is, you know, it's a move you get out the line, but then you've got rook f7 to worry about. You don't want a pawn landing on the... I don't know. I'm fairly convinced this is truly horrible for Sevian, and Hikaru Nakamura, with a win today, keeps his chances very much alive of leading the tournament. Rather, he won't be leading the tournament after this round, but certainly up there in the pack, and with a few more good results, will be challenging to get an automatic qualification to Millionaire Monday. For Samuel Sevian, well, everything's a learning process for him. He's a very young man. He's an extremely strong grandmaster, but he still does struggle against the absolute elite. And I actually had the pleasure of seeing Sam just a couple of weeks ago at the World Cup in Baku in Azerbaijan, and I had a chat with him, and he lost his game against another big player in the world, Timur Rajabov, and I said, you know, don't worry about it, kid. You know, you're a young grandmaster. You're going to have many more chances. He said, I'm not really worried. I'm just taking it as some learning, some practice, and he did that. So I've got really high hopes for Samuel Sevian. I think he's going to go a long way in chess, in US chess and world chess.
Definitely a talented grandmaster, but he's having a very tough time today against Hikaru. He's also only got 18 minutes in his clock, Robert. Hikaru's got 48 minutes. I'm sure he's thinking about what's the quickest way to take this point home.
Yeah, it definitely is. And I've had worse position against Hikaru Nakamura, so I know what it feels like and more. It's really terrible. He's going to sit there. He's really just going to pounce on you, and there's nothing you can do about it. And Lawrence's line with bishop takes e5, pawn takes e5, followed by knight g6 is really excellent stuff. As soon as that pawn lands on g6, well, it's pretty much game over. The open diagonal on the for the attacking the king is just really just too much to deal with. The rook will land on f7 at the right moment, and really it's just all over. So it's only a matter of time, and probably not that much time before Samuel Sevian is forced to knock his king over and resign.
Right, we're going to be looking at more onboard action, but first, quickly to Maurice, because he's got someone special.
Yes, and we are with 24-year-old Grandmaster Cristian Chirila from Romania. He's a student at the University of Texas at Dallas. He's just completed his fourth game, a draw against Ilya Nijic from the Webster team. Cristian, tell us how you're feeling right now after 4 rounds.
I'm feeling good. I had quite ups and downs. The first round I won an easy game. The second round I drew a completely winning position, so that was a little bit depressing. The third round, on the other hand, the luck kind of overturned, and I won more or less a shaky position. The fourth round draw, I think I had some chances, but he defended very well. So I'm pleased with my results so far.
Now, you played in the tournament last year as well. How does this score where you are at right now in the tournament compared to where you were at this exact same stage last year?
Last year I was again 2.5 out of 3, but I lost with white against Mamedov. So a draw, I think it's a little bit better than last year. Yeah.
All right, now tell us about this friendship you have with the University of Texas at Dallas team. You just graduated with a degree in international political economics. But you've got a bunch of guys here. There are about 8 players, I believe, from that team. What's it like to have such a strong contingent of players from your alma mater?
Most of them I know from my previous year at the university. I don't know the freshmen that well, but I have a very close relationship with all of the guys over there, with the coach as well. We bonded very well for 4 years. And Webster, I mean, we're kind of rivals, so it was interesting to play today with a guy from Webster.
And you're doing some work now in California. You're teaching. Tell us about that.
Yes, I'm the head coach of the elite team of Bay Area Chess Association. It's a non-profit association. They organize a lot of tournaments. They actually had the G60, the national G60 and G30 a few weeks ago. So yeah, I'm quite happy over there.
Time to be a chess coach. Usually they say that's the kiss of death for a professional player.
I try to balance both coaching and playing, so I'm still training for myself as well.
And finally, your thoughts about playing a tournament in Vegas, especially one that has $1 million prize fund?
I love it. I love it. It's what chess needs right now. We need to be treated like rock stars, and I feel like a rock star right now, so it's good.
Fantastic. Well, we appreciate it. Grandmaster Cristian Chirila from Romania on a 3 out of 4. Pretty good score at this point at the Millionaire Chess Open.
Cristian Chirila, gotta say he also looks like a rock star. We've got a result on Robson's board. What was that about?
Yeah, it looks like Ray Robson's opponent shook hands, but as we see, there's a bit of controversy brewing on screen. Ray Robson and his opponent, Artur Jakubiak, had only made 24 moves, so they're not allowed by tournament rules to agree for a draw in that position. Sure, the position is equal, completely equal, but the arbiter correctly stepped in there and is forcing them to make at least 6 more moves to reach move 30. So good on the arbiters who enforce the regulations, because we've already seen, the players forgetting. They're just forgetting that there's a strict move limit enforced at this event.
Right, so we don't actually have a result yet, but it could have been. But there is a rule under play. You cannot agree for a draw under 30 moves. So it's going to be interesting to watch what happens for the next 6 moves, if they're just going to play it easy and agree for it after, or who knows what's going to happen.
Yeah, it's very strange to have to play after you thought you just agreed on a result. So now they have to change their mindset completely, because actually in the next 6 moves, if one of the players just takes it easy, as you say, which is very simple to do, Tanya, because, oh, we made a draw already, but no, we didn't, but yes, we will. As soon as you do that, you could slip up at any moment, and the position is very dry. A move like rook h to d1 here, just doubling the rooks on the d file is very, very standard. And it's not clear exactly what black can do. Maybe go rook to h4, you're attacking a pawn, go h3, and then just bring your rook back to b4. I mean, there's no progress that can be made for either side. But again, one small mistake can lead one of the sides to get an advantage, so you have to be careful, not just think you're going to make a draw for sure.
Right, and if that happens, you can bet on it that they're not going to think about what happened 6 moves ago and just agree for a draw. Right, what about the other boards, Robert?
Yeah, we have a lot of interesting stuff going on here. The game between Wesley So and Vasif Durabeli looks very interesting. The queen is over on a7, pinning the rook on e3, but really, look, as you see, Wesley So about to just calmly move that king away from the pin. And look what's going on here. The rooks on the e file are just deadly. These two rooks are just pummeling away at this position here. The pawn on e6 is very weak. In fact, if white couldn't move his rook, he would take on e6. And it looks like Wesley just calmly moved his king over. It looked like king to h1 was the move that he was about to make. Perhaps it was king to g2. I can't quite see the move he made. He's a little far away. But actually went king to f1, which is way smarter. He goes king to f1 to avoid any pins on this diagonal. Now if he gets another move, rook takes e6 is coming. You cannot capture pawn takes on d5 because rook to e7 check actually wins the queen immediately. Rook takes e7, rook takes, and as we see, there's a queen under attack and the king in check. So that would be game over on the spot.
I have got to say, I really like king f1 here. Lawrence, what do you have?
No, Wesley So is playing perfect chess. There's no other way to say it. He's cruised through the first 3 rounds, and today he's playing absolutely accurately. But we have to give credit to his opponent, Durar Bailey, after making this inaccuracy in the opening, giving a huge amount of initiative to Wesley. Actually, he's playing the perfect moves in the position. And I believe he just played the next good move, which is the move pawn to e5. This was a necessary move because he couldn't allow this move rook takes e6. That would have ended the game immediately. And the point is that now after, well, it's a bit tricky because if you can't play pawn takes e5 because if bishop takes rook, this bishop on h6 does actually have a role over there. So you have to find a good move. And probably the best move in the position is to play the move rook to e4, just to get out of the way of that bishop, protect c4 as well, and threaten f takes e5. But that said, the position is not, it's not completely over. These two bishops that black has, the bishop on a8 actually performs a great role along that long diagonal. It can spring into action with any inaccuracy. The bishop on h6 also does a good job in certain lines, and the queen on a7 also can hop in via c5. So, you know, in some positions, not quite now, but certainly Wesley's going to have to play accurately if he's going to win this game. But the way he's been playing so far, well, I'd be mad to bet against him, and I think he is going to play rook e4. It's quite a sensible move, and Durar Bailey has only got 16 minutes left. Understandably, he's short on time after having to try and find precise moves to defend this rather horrid position. But here, the move rook e4 is a good move, and I still expect Wesley So to win. But if he doesn't find these accurate moves, then Durar Bailey is going to be back in with a shot. So we'll see what happens.
It's not over yet for Durar Bailey, but I have to say that just looking at Wesley, his position looks better right now. His whole attitude, I mean, he's got this whole spirit going that he's playing well here. He's last year's champion. It's his birthday. It's almost like he's got this. I mean, every time he's in our studio, he seems so confident. I would bet my money on Wesley too. We've also got some more action for you from the confessional booth.
Hi, my name is Zahin Zaman. I'm in the under 1600 section on board 214. My position is a bit bad. I'm an exchange down, but I have a pretty good attack with my knight and queen. His two rooks aren't really doing anything against me, except for his queen, which is actually threatening a lot. But I think I can defend it with a check on his king, because it isn't very protected. So I don't know what might happen. So yeah, bye.
Okay, James Canty here. I am from Detroit, Michigan. I'm in Arizona now. That's where I'm living. Professional chess player. I am in the open section. And what else? Thanks to see you. Okay, cool. I was reading notes. So, I am playing Rogelio right now. It's getting real on the board, like for real. I'm up against James though, so I think I'm gonna win this game. Take him out, big GM. Let's go. Let's go. So I'm hyped about this game, and let's see how it goes. James Canty signing out.
Hi, this is Alejandro Ramirez. I'm from St. Louis, and I gotta admit, I'm really scared. There's this guy, Wesley So, in the playing hall, and he like kills grandmasters for a living. I feel so bad for his opponent right now. He's getting crushed every single way. Man, I drew Wesley last year, but I'm so glad I'm not getting him this year. Anyways, I hope I do well today.
Hello, my name is Chris Peterson. I'm from Colorado. I run the Denver Chess Club website, denverchess.com, and also the current vice president of the state organization in Colorado. My tournament's not going all that great. I have 1.5 out of 3 in the under 2200 section. Lost my third round game and decided to play poker to kind of pick up my spirits a bit if I win. And while I was playing, Lawrence Trent actually came and sat down and played with me a little bit. And sorry I took some of your money, Lawrence. All right, thanks.
Brian Wall. I confess I spilled marinara sauce on my good shirt. I confess there are 7 players from Colorado here. I confess I refuted the Ponziani myself, which you can see at brianwallchess@yahoogroups.com. I confess I'm sick of chess, and I'm going to play poker tonight. I confess I've only played 3 games. It feels like I've been here 3 months. And I confess it's wearing on me playing high-rated players every round, but I'm having a great time, so good luck to everyone.
Hi, my name is Tim Fisher, and I'm from Colorado. I am playing in the under 1600 section, and I've got 3 points so far out of a possible 4, and I'm hoping I can get a few more points over the next couple of days and be competitive in my section. I'm here because the venue, the excitement of a big tournament, and because I guess I trust Maurice Ashley. My first memory of ever seeing Maurice Ashley was on a video game or a video chess teaching program called Maurice Ashley Teaches Chess. And I can remember him making chess almost like a sport, and you'd make certain moves and he'd be like a little guy walking on the screen. He'd go touchdown whenever you would do well. And so I guess I just really respect Grandmaster Ashley and what he's done for chess. And I knew that since he was in charge of this, it was going to be an outstanding tournament. And so far my expectations have been fully met. Thanks a lot.
Welcome to Chess.com. Chess.com is social. Now you can play chess with your friends whenever you want, whether that's middle of the day or middle of the night. You can get instantly matched up with one of over 5 million other members from around the world. You play live games in real time, turn-based games at your convenience, or tournaments with anyone at any time. Chess.com is mobile. You can play online from your computer, or you can play on the go from your tablet or your smartphone. No matter where you go, whether you're at work, grabbing a bite to eat, or just enjoying some time at the park, your games are there with you, and keeping multiple chess games going has never been easier. Chess.com is for learning. Don't just play chess, get better. The best chess training resources have never been more accessible. Learn essential chess strategy quickly and easily with the extremely popular Tactics Trainer tool. Improve your game in ways you didn't know were possible with training videos by chess masters. And regardless of where you're at now, take your game to the next level with multiple simple-to-use training tools. Chess.com is for everyone. Over 250 million chess games have been played on Chess.com. And it doesn't matter if you're a beginner or a grandmaster. Chess.com is the place to play and learn chess. So create your free account now and see what Chess.com is for you.
On Millionaire Monday, after 5 grueling days of competition, 9 players claimed the bragging rights and the biggest cash prizes. But there's no rest for the weary. 9 division winners will have a shot at becoming a millionaire. Here it is, 64 squares on the chessboard. Each has a prize, $1 million.
Very excited about Millionaire Square as well, but we'll have to wait for that. Talking about those fantastic confessions from our booth, Alejandro going on camera and saying that he's absolutely terrified of Wesley So. Well, he's got reasons. Wesley is playing really well here. Let's have a look at his game.
Yeah, Wesley is the man to beat right now, and of course he's the defending champion. He's a very, very strong grandmaster, and in the game, we've got a bit of movement, but not too much. They traded pawns on c4. He first started the move rook e4, which we've been discussing, and they've traded pawns on c4. So white is still doing very, very well here. The black king on f7 is not too happy, but nothing too concrete yet. So Dura Bailey is playing very, very well, as Lawrence mentioned earlier, to fend off all these immediate losing variations. He's played quite solidly to survive from now, and if he can keep it up, maybe the tides will turn and he'll actually be able to at least salvage half a point.
Right, so Dura Bailey doing well with his defensive resources. Robert, what's going on Hikaru's board?
Well, Hikaru Nakamura is doing quite well, as we last saw, but he didn't go for the variation with the bishop takes on e5. Instead, after he went a4. So a4 is quite a strange move. He's playing on both sides of the board. He could have captured the knight on e5, but instead decided, I'm going to try to remove that knight on b6 and open up my rook on b1. And by going pawn to a4, well, he's asking black, what are you going to do about it? Because a4 is a nice little push, threatening, of course, pawn to a5. Sevian went knight e to c4, and the simple reply, bishop to d4. And I mean, I don't have another move to suggest for black here. A move like, c5, well, that might just lose a pawn right away, so I don't really want to do that. A move like a5 to try to stop white from going a5 might run into now knight c5, and if we look at b7, we look at e6, way too many weaknesses in the black camp, and it looks like black is going to lose some material as well. So very ugly position for Samuel Sevian, and his bishop on h7, I mean, that's not doing anything and will never do anything. So terrible position for black. Hikaru Nakamura playing excellent moves, and he should win this game fairly simply.
I completely agree, Robert. Even if not immediately, it does look like a really good position with some solid advantages for Hikaru Nakamura. Over to you, Lawrence.
Absolutely. Hikaru is in the driving seat, and I fully expect him to pull through in his game. Very interesting game taking place on board 2 between Yu Yangyi and Ortiz Suarez. And we've got a position here after 28 moves, and the Cuban player is on the back foot. We've got Ortiz Suarez on the right-hand side here, and Yu Yangyi has just played the move Queen F2. And he's basically looking to deliver some kind of knockout blow along the F-file. You've got the bishop on C4 as well, hitting this E6 pawn. There are a lot of ideas. There are all kinds of crazy ideas that you could think of here. You might want to deflect the rook from the back rank to be able to give a back rank mate yourself. So there's all kinds of tactics in the air. And Yu Yangyi, I have to say, this opening was a Sicilian defense. And I've seen Yu Yangyi over the past few years. He's got to be one of the best players against Sicilian defense on the white side. He seems to get great positions all of the time, playing these open Sicilians. It really suits his style. He really can perform very well when there's a lot of dynamic opportunities in the position, and he's got that exact position today against Ortiz Suarez. And I think Ihsan is going to have a lot of problems fending off the attack here. In fact, I can't really see a very good move. Perhaps the move Rook F7 makes a lot of sense, just to pin the bishop, and now you might want to get out the way with the queen, maybe queen to G1, maintaining some attack on the D4 pawn. And the problem Suarez has got is that he can't really liberate himself. He can never play E5 because the bishop on C4 is bearing down this long diagonal. And if he can't do that, it means he can't get his bishop out on C8. And more importantly, you know, he's always got this pawn as a target. So, no, I think this is a very tricky position for Black to play. And I expect Yu Yangyi to actually come through here. And he's a real prospect for this tournament. Yu Yangyi, you cannot rule him out. He's up there with the top seeds, and I think he's playing well enough to be able to challenge. And be interesting to see what happens if he reaches 4 out of 4, and the likes of Wesley and maybe some others. But great game so far by the Chinese player.
Right, Lawrence, that bishop on f6 and c4 definitely making life very difficult for Black's king. We did have a mini controversy in Arthur Jakubik and Ray Robson's game where they tried to agree for a draw, but the arbiter stepped in and said, you want to draw, you've got to fight at least until move 30. Now it's been a while and the game is still on. What's going on, Robert?
Yeah, the position is still relatively level, but Ray is trying to gain some space on the king side. Nothing too special going on, but I think we'll still see a draw in a few moves.
Right. And Lawrence has got something to tell us.
We'll come back to this Ray Robson game. We just had the Yu Yangyi game, and I was mentioning how tricky this position is. Ihsan played the move queen to b7 in the position, which looks like a very normal move because you're covering the 7th rank and you're getting out of the way of this long diagonal pin. But now Yu Yangyi has got one of the most fantastic combinations available that this tournament has seen. You can now play the move bishop takes e6 check, and after rook takes e6, the absolutely stunning, and I mean that with all sincerity, bishop to e7. That is, you know, you have those big wheels that carry the water around to generate electric. That is like putting a huge wooden log in the middle of that and just stopping the whole operation. This move is an unbelievable move. You put the bishop can be taken in 5 different ways, but whichever way you take it, if you take it with any of the rooks, then you play queen takes bishop mate. So rook takes this way is queen takes bishop mate. If you take with the other rook, it's the same thing. And if you take with the bishop, then that runs into queen f7 check. So this actually, this bishop move stops the 2nd or 7th rank defense, whatever you want to call it. And after king h8, just to add a bit of glamour to already amazing position, you can then sacrifice the queen. Queen f8 check, bishop takes queen only move, and rook takes f8 mate. What an unbelievable combination. He's missed it. He's missed it. Well, I mean, it was an outrageous combination. It really was. And it's 9:30 in the evening. I can understand why he missed it. What did he do instead? Let's have a look.
He instead captured bishop takes d4, allowing black to go knight takes d4, rook takes d4, and followed up with the move rook to f7. So, okay, it's still completely winning for white. I mean, you're up at least 2 pawns at the moment, and the position is terrible for black, so a move like queen to e1, I mean, it's pretty much over anyway, but Lawrence, how can you miss this beautiful tactic? And how do you play so quickly when such aesthetically pleasing moves are in the air?
Well,
that would have been a stunning finish to this game. And Yu Yangyi is quite good with tactics. He also has time on his clock. Honestly, I'm pretty surprised. And there's only one reasonable explanation for this. It is the grueling format of the Millionaire Chess Tournament. It is so difficult to keep your energy levels, but that combination would have been very, very amazing to watch on the board.
Yeah, it was a deadly combination that he missed. He could have had the brilliancy prize. I mean, that is just phenomenal. Bishop to e7 in that variation.
Oh,
you don't see that very often.
That is so beautiful.
I mean, there are 3 pieces that can capture the bishop, but
Four.
they all
Four pieces.
4 pieces, but they all lead to checkmate.
But instead, he has the position on the board more or less. The queen is still on f2, and he will win this game. But when he finds out that he missed one of the most beautiful tactics I've ever seen, he's surely going to be disheartened at his play. I mean, winning the game is the most important thing, going out to 4 out of 4, in the driver's seat for Millionaire Monday, but still, it's going to be a bit upsetting to miss such a beautiful line.
That move, bishop e7, would have made it to the books. Well, but like you said, Yu Yangyi is still dominating the position, so we're going to leave it to him for a while and come back a little later. Let's see what's going on some of the other boards.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's look at Liquang Liem versus Conrad Holtz. Holtz with the white pieces. And they actually think Liem has really messed up the position. It was dead equal a little while ago. And now, all of a sudden, there could be a vicious attack. We just see go right a few moves back. I mean, this was a very plain-looking position. But after queen c2, he made the move e5. The problem is, look at this battery on this diagonal. The queen and the bishop team up to allow queen h7 check. And if you go g6, the move to stop the queen from infiltrating, well, I can take your pawn on h6, and that was definitely worrisome for Liquang Liem. He could have tried to play this position. It might have been safer, but instead, he goes e5 here, and now if I'm white, I jump my queen in to h7 with check, and the king can only go to f8. And once it moves over to f8, I simply retreat my bishop to g3, and very, very clearly, and the statistics show, white is much better. 73% in Conrad Holtz's favor. He's coming out of nowhere. He's going to surprise one of the tournament favorites because that king on f8 has no safety for the rest of the game. And Conrad Holtz, all of a sudden dominating. He's a tactical wizard. Not looking good for the Vietnamese player here.
We also have a result on Sam's board. Let's have a look at that.
So Sam Shanklin looks like has split the point with Nicholas Huschenbeth. He was in the confessional booth earlier saying he wasn't sure what was going on, but now it's pretty clear. Dead draw, knight against bishop, 5 pawns on 5 pawns, no infiltration squares for either king. Pretty standard.
That does look like a fair draw. Not much to see there. Coming back to our other top boards, Robert, what else is going on?
Yeah, Farai Mandija, the Zimbabwean international master, he had a very nice position earlier against Evgeny Barea, but now it's all in black's favor. As we see on the board, look at these beautiful knights on c4 and e4. Sure, white looks like he's a great knight on e5, but minor piece play definitely favors black here. The bishop on b2 has no real home. I would start with the move queen to c8 for black. Using the open file here, the queen on g8, okay, it's on an open file, but it doesn't really have a future there with the king on g1. Perhaps now, after a move like bishop to f1, well, maybe I can try to move my knights. I still don't see a clear path to victory or anything like that. I think black is just a bit better, but look at how many minor pieces are clogging up the position. The knight on e5, the knight on e4, the bishops on f6 and e6. And yeah, maybe I don't see a really great move for black, so maybe it's not too much better for the black side, but still a huge improvement over earlier. And I actually predict this game will end in a draw just because the position is so clogged. But look at that time. White has 3 minutes and 53 seconds, so Farai Mandija has to be careful not to get into too much time trouble. He does only have 9 more moves to make. Well, actually, he has 10 more moves to make in the current position here. So he has to be careful, but I don't know, the position's very clogged, so I don't think he has to worry too much yet.
But I have to say, Baraev has definitely, he's looking good. He's improved his position a lot. And that time advantage you cannot ignore. It's 3 minutes against 38 minutes. You do have to defend, and to find the right accurate moves, you need a little more time than that. I have a feeling that by the time they get through the time, Baraev will be a lot better. Over to you, Lawrence.
Yeah, Baraev's got a chance to press in that position. But another game that's caught my eye is the game between Luke McShane, my compatriot, good friend, and all-round great guy, playing Gil Popilski. Now, we saw Gil Popilski play Hikaru Nakamura in the previous round, and he played a very, very good game, did Gil, playing some very accurate moves, clearly in a bit of a rich vein of form at the moment. And playing black against Luke, the massive underdog rating-wise, but his position is absolutely fantastic. If we look at the black position, we've got 2 rooks perfectly placed, one on the open file, one on the semi-open file. And on top of that, you've got 2 knights that are menacingly placed in the heart of the white position, looking to jump, see weaknesses, attack weaknesses. And this bishop on f6, which is ready to actually just whip off this knight on e5 in order to be able to win the pawn on c4. And actually, this position is really unpleasant for white. The knights feel a bit strange in their current position, and also one thing that white has done is he's advanced his pawns up the board, and there's a lot of space in between them. Black's structure is just so much better than white's, and I think black is seriously better. And Luke, as we can see, another huge factor, Luke, like many other players, Ivanov, Grishchuk, amongst others, is a absolute time trouble addict. He loves being short of time. And this position, it's only move 23. He's got to make 17 more moves, and he's now got under 6 minutes for 17 moves. And in a tricky position like this, if I were Popilski, I'd be sitting at the board, calculating the lines, and smelling the blood, because there really is a great opportunity for a huge upset here. And Luke, he's going to have to think hard. I can't even think of a very good move here. There are just so many tactics in the air. What do you do in this position, actually, with white? I can't even think of a good move here. No wonder Luke's having a think. It seems like you'd love to go b3, but that allows knight c3, winning an exchange. And if you play a move like rook d to c1, just protecting that pawn, maybe here there are all kinds of ideas. Moves like knight d2 check come to mind, and if bishop takes knight, rook takes knight in the middle, attacking the bishop comes back to e3. You've just got out, you can't take the c4 pawn yet, but what about the move rook e4? That wins a pawn by force, because I'm going to take on e5 afterwards. And these are just some lines that I'm doing off the top of my head. So Luke, quite astonishingly, had a really tough game this morning against Burchess, managed to escape with a draw, but I think he's in big trouble now. And if he manages to get out of this, he'll be very happy, because I think he knows he's in real desperate trouble. And we'll see what happens.
Definitely, Lawrence. I think you're not the only one finding it difficult to find a move for white here. Luke's clock is also ticking low. He is unable to find the right way to defend this position. Robert, let's go have a look if Wesley has wrapped up his game and is ready to celebrate his birthday or not yet.
Absolutely. We'll take a look at Wesley So on the top board here. And the game is still going, but if you look at Vasif Durabeli, he's kind of fiddling with some pieces. That's generally a sign of nervousness. And the position itself is still quite complicated. I mean, Vasif has played very excellent defense, and here he just made the move king back to f8, and he's retreating. But if you just look at the pawns on f6 and g5, I mean, those are some menacing passed pawns, but there are also some problems. The pawn on d5 is a target. It can't be protected by another pawn. And the rooks on the e file are a bit misplaced because there's nowhere for them to go. The pawns on d6 and e5 keep those rooks at bay. So it's not so clear right now. And we've just received word that Ray Robson drew his game finally. They agreed on a draw move 24. We're told to keep playing. But now, as we see Artur Jakubiak and Ray Robson there, I mean, they've split the point, and it was a very fair result in that game. Nothing really interesting going on there. They agreed on a draw for a reason a bit early because it was very equal. And now Ray Robson walks away 3.5 out of 4. If you had told me he'd be 3.5 out of 4 earlier today, I would have been in disbelief because he got so lucky earlier today. But this game was very solid, and it was actually a good turnaround from some of his other performances.
Right, Robert. Robson did have a very, very bad position in the morning, but luck was in his side, and he managed to win that game. And I guess it's also, you know, in a format like this, you're kind of tired in the evening rounds. So understandable when you've got an equal position and you just don't want to keep fighting. So Ray Robson did draw his game indeed, and Wesley So is going to take a while before we know what really happens. I actually feel his advantage was a lot more before than what it is right now. I mean, Durabali has been defending like a monster in this position. And let's see what Lawrence has got to say about this.
No, we just have to say hats off to Durabali. He has played so well after being under the cosh right out of the gates. He managed to find some really precise moves, and the position he's got, the computer still likes it for white, understandably so. You've got more space, you've got a protected pawn on f6, but actually he found another really interesting move, the move he just played, king f8, and his idea is that he wants to move the rook to h7 and cover along this line, and this isn't over. This game is not over, and Wesley's going to be slightly miffed at this. He's going to be thinking, why didn't my opponent collapse? It's the evening round. He had a really tough game in the morning. Why could he not just admit defeat and let me win easily? Instead, he's got a real fight on his hands, and Durabali, you know, he might be nervous, but I think he should be mildly optimistic about creating some saving chances, because so far he's been playing so accurately. He should be very proud of the way he's played thus far.
Right, Lawrence. So Wesley So is going to take a while to convert this advantage, if at all. He does. He's also our last year's big winner. We've had so much action so far. It's only day 2 at Millionaire Chess, and honestly, if we guys think it's been exciting till now, let's have a look at what happened last year.
The ancient sport of chess is about to change forever.
Welcome to day 3 of the Millionaire Chess Open, live here from the ballroom of Planet Hollywood, Las Vegas. My name is Ariane Kawili, and I am here with Grandmaster Robert Hess. These are some pretty crazy matchups. Over to you, Lawrence. What do you think what's going to happen tonight?
Well, I don't know what's going to happen later. Who knows? It's Friday night in Vegas and I'm feeling a bit freaky. Now, that's a joke. But if we're talking about the chess, we've got a lot of stuff coming up.
Hi, I'm Amy Lee, and I'm a partner, co-founder of Millionaire Chess. We wanted the whole chess tournament to be a new experience for people to experience compared to what they're used to traditionally, which is why we offer so much.
Well, I think this time it's just he was too reliant on the fact that, well, that he thought that Yang Yu would win. Zhao took easy advantage of Naroditsky's obscure play, and now it's all Zhao.
And as we see, Daniel just resigned. He is out of Millionaire Monday.
I don't want to be just competing with everything else that's out there. I want to deal with the market that I'm the first one to create something. I like the wow effect of that.
Amy is the leader of the team. I mean, there's no question about it. Without Amy, there's no Millionaire Chess.
It's pretty much over for David.
1 second, look.
Ooh, this is horrible. There we go, we see us shaking hands. Ray Robson is through to Millionaire Monday.
Look at David Bushers, he's still in his seat. He's inconsolable. He knows he's missed out on an amazing opportunity. Oh, knight a7, what a boy.
Wow. Well, that's a great tackle.
Great move. Knight a7, and now rook d8. And that is that.
That's an equally
He's going to
beautiful
resign here.
finish.
He's
I think
going
I
to
like
resign.
that finish better, Lawrence. I think he
It's cute.
he just painted a picture.
He's gone.
And
That's
it's
it.
over.
I'm Grandmaster Maurice Ashley, live in Las Vegas, Nevada. We've completed 4 exciting rounds of the Millionaire Chess Open. Today is Millionaire Monday, and it all starts right now.
Welcome everybody to Millionaire Monday here at the Millionaire Chess Open, live from the ballroom of Planet Hollywood, Las Vegas.
This is terrible. I think that the game is still completely out of reach for Ray Robson.
Well, maybe it's game over anyway, but
I don't think it's game over anymore. I think Ray might have escaped a bit here.
oh my goodness, I'm
Because
shocked.
This is unbelievable. He was dead lost yesterday, completely losing, and he made his opponent cry. That's what kind of mean guy he is. And now you is gonna cry.
That's game over. Queen takes G2 and forced checkmate. He's going to put out his... That's it.
It's
game
over for the Chinese Grandmaster.
Unbelievable.
Ray Robson, I don't know what he's thinking right now, but he should go do something that is risky because he will survive.
Is he... I mean, I don't want to be... What's he... is that some super coffee? Because that looks great. I mean, he looks like he's tuned into something, some other wavelength.
He was completely lost in the last
He's
round.
looking at us. I feel... Oh, no, he's gone.
He's got 6 minutes, and he walks off to the bathroom. If that isn't a sign of confidence, I don't know what is.
I don't think that's a sign of confidence. I think that's a sign of I don't want to pee in my pants. It's not worth $50,000 to pee in your pants on live broadcast.
You know, he's not going in there putting on a bit of lippy, a bit of blusher, doing his eyebrows. He's in and out of there. Probably didn't even wash his hands given the time situation, you know. His position is hopeless. Really, the miracle wouldn't be enough. You know, walking on water, resurrections, all of these things we all know about, that's nothing compared to the task that Ray Robson has in front of him.
Champion, do it.
Wesley So is the Millionaire
Look
Chess
at him
Open
smiling
champion.
there.
Grandmaster Wesley So, the champion of the Millionaire Chess Open. Great moment.
And there he is today, Millionaire Chess. What a game changer.
Yeah, and Wesley So back for number 2. He's vying for a second straight title, but Vasif Durability has put up stiff resistance, and we'll see if he can convert for a 4th straight victory.
Right, Wesley So did win last year very, very convincingly, but let's not forget, last year he was also the top seed. This year he is the 3rd seed, but that said, I actually feel he's the one who's been playing most convincingly amongst the top seed. Amongst our other top boards, we've also got something going on in Le Quang Liem's game. Let's have a look at what happened there.
Yeah, it's been a really weird battle between Conrad Holt and Le Quang Liem. At first, it was just dead equal. It looked like they could shake hands, repeat moves, whatever. But now, all of a sudden, he started heating up. And we last saw the move pawn to e5, which allowed white to make the move he played, queen h7 check, and it looks very threatening. After king f8, the move rook to e1 was played. I preferred the simple bishop g3 retreat. The idea is that I would keep my bishop safe. I can continue my attack next move. Instead, he made the move rook e1, hoping that Le Quang Liem would blunder with pawn takes f4, allowing e takes f4. The idea, now that the rook is open, the queen is under attack, and I'm threatening queen h8 checkmate next move. So instead, he made the move queen to c6 and only moves e4 because if you see, the queen is threatening g2 with checkmate. So e4 was played, and now pawn takes f4, and all of a sudden black is up a piece, but don't be fooled, it's not that simple. Knight to d5 was played. So the knight on d5 takes away this vital e7 square from the king. If you give me one more move, I deliver checkmate with queen h8. So after knight d5, Le Quang Liem calmly played g6. Now the bishop covers the vital h8 checkmating square, and Conrad Holt quickly went b4. So what has just happened? Now the knight is pinned to the queen. We see the rook on c1 putting pressure on the c file. But I think Conrad is on the favorable side of these complications here because he's going to win back his piece. And, I mean, it's very tricky. Let's say the move bishop g7 is played. This queen on h7 has no moves, but it's also impossible to attack. We simply go pawn takes c5, pawn takes c5, and try knight takes f4. And, well, the queen on h7 is not going anywhere, but black doesn't have any clear targets to exploit. And potentially, white can go for something like e5 and e6 if black's not careful. So I like Conrad Halt's position, and I think this is what's going to appear on the board in the next few moves.
I actually do agree with you, Robert. I think Conrad's doing really well. I actually really like the last few moves that he played. They were really energetic, and now you see this position, which might happen on the board. White's looking good. Lei Kwang Liam has a tough task in front of him to defend this position. Lawrence, what do you have to say about it?
Well, I'm slightly surprised that he didn't play the move bishop g3, as Robert pointed out. It's such a natural move to just drop the bishop back. After all, black is attacking it. And after this, well, you've got a kind of free hand to do what you want to do. Rook e1 is really a move that shows immense imagination, actually, especially when queen c6 is such a logical reply, and to foresee all of these complications. I'm not quite sure what's going on in the position, though. I have to say, we've had a few more moves, I believe. If we go there, yeah, we had b takes c5, b. This is the position on the board on the left-hand side of your screens. And here, well, it's ironically, this queen on h7 is trapped, but it's one of those positions where it's trapped, but it can never be taken. There's no knight to come round and try and win it. So here, it's a very, very tricky position, a lot of complications. The computer likes just gobbling up this pawn on f4, just winning another pawn. And then perhaps the idea might be to go e5 to open this long diagonal, but then to break through with e6. I quite like that. If you manage to get your pawn to e6, then you're in business, because suddenly the whole of black's kingside structure just collapses, just like that, just an absolute collapse, and white would crash through with the bishop, knight, and queen and rook combination. So maybe after knight takes f4, black has to try something like queen f6, and the position again, it's very unclear. I think I would take white still, but some accurate play is going to be needed.
Definitely, Lawrence. Very, very imaginative play by Conrad, like you said. And if that pawn does come to e6, black's king is going to be begging to get checkmated.
Yeah, if that pawn gets to e6, it's barreling down, much like Ray Robson did last game to Fishbein. I understand that position was losing at the moment it happened, but Fishbein aired and Robson broke through. So that pawn to e6 is very dangerous because the f7 pawn, it's the golden pawn. It's the one that protects your king once you've castled. So to chip away at it is very important. That will be Conrad Halt's winning plan. I'm not quite sure it's enough because you can probably prevent white from easily making that pawn push, but that's the idea at play. And if he can convert that, well, he's got a huge advantage.
Right, Robert. Let's wait and see what happens in this game. But until then, let's move on to Yu Yangyi's board.
Yeah, definitely. Yu Yangyi. I mean, a lot actually has happened since we last saw. He missed that beautiful checkmate, but he still is completely winning. You can't say it enough. The move rook e1 was just played, and now rook f4 check is just, I mean, where are you going to move your king? If you go king e7, well, I'm going to go make the move c3. Not really sure where you're playing. I'm going to move your bishop. Bishop to a5, knight to d6, and this rook is coming to f7 with check. Once that happens, the rook will take your pawn on h7. I mean, that's just brutal. And you can't go rook takes e5 because it's simply knight takes c8 check wins a piece. So unfortunately for Ortiz Suarez, he's in big trouble. And in the game as it stands, well, I mean, this is the position. The simple move is c3. I mean, nothing is more simple than that. Attacking the bishop, freeing that d6 square, allowing white to achieve a very easy victory.
Right, Robert. This position looks like it's going to be game over for Suarez very soon. We've been focusing a lot on our open section because there's so much going on. But let's not forget our under sections, the amateurs, who are fighting for a huge prize fund.
Yeah, we'll take a quick peek at those games because they're just as important as the open section. So I'm going to pop on over here. We saw two results already. We saw Michael Stabsky won his game, and we also saw that Gopi Krishnan won as well. So let's take a look at the under 2200 section, the top board there. It looks like black just promoted to a queen. And this is crazy. Black is completely winning now. And, well, let's see how we got here, because a little while ago it looked kind of complex, and we were around this position when we last saw. And white tried to prevent those pawns from moving by putting the rook on b3, but the king infiltrated via d5. And it's simply the king on c5. I mentioned this earlier. A very simple plan, protecting the pawn on b4, and the knight on c4 is much better than the bishop on e1. And rook to b1 was played. Bishop f2 check seems to win some material, right? Because you're hitting the king in check, and the rook is right behind it. But simply actually king to b5, this is very, very bad for white. The idea is that now my passed pawns are free, my king just rolls over to a4, and white is completely lost anyway. So instead of that, went rook d to b1, and a2 was played, forcing rook a1 because it's past a pawn, rook a6, h4, and a very smart move, rook a4. The reason why, you protect your b pawn and allow your other rook to enter the fray. And after h5, knight a5, a beautiful shot. You're forcing this rook out from b3, allowing yourself to go pawn b4 to b3. So rook b2, b3, and as we see in the game, it's pretty much over at this point. And just a few more moves, very simple moves for black. King moves up even further, knight back, attacking the bishop. And okay, he sacrificed his knight, but this is just absolutely desperate play by the white side. So P.P. Pachur is going down, as we see here, after getting a queen. This is bishop takes a1 was played, and rook takes a1, and white might as well resign because this game is just done.
Absolutely, Robert. He's a full rook down. There is nothing left in this game, and P.P. Pachur can go home now.
And if we just pop back over to the Yang Yu game, we jumped away from it for a second to look at some of the undersections. Well, now that pawn on h7 is gone, I mean, what just happened here? It looks like he made the move c3, which I'd recommended, so I feel very happy that I suggested what looks like a good move. Bishop b7, attacking the knight on e4, but now the knight comes to f6. Now your bishop on b4 is under attack by pawn on c3, and now h7 is also under attack. So bishop c5 retreat, knight takes h7, and well, this is quite simple. You just move your knight either to f6 or f8. You're eventually going to go pawn to h7, another passed pawn. Really a tragic ending here for black.
Right, Yu Yangyi looks like he's going to go into round 5 with 4 out of 4. Lawrence, over to you.
Yes, he does. But what I'm really interested in is seeing a very exciting time scramble. If we can get video on the Luke McShane game. We mentioned before he's playing Gil Popilski, who's playing excellent chess. Now Luke is down to under a minute and a half, and he has to make 10 more moves. In fact, he's just played the move f5, which may be a good move. The position, we won't analyze too much as to how we got here because there's just too much to look at. But basically what we have is a position where black has got a rook for a bishop and knight, which normally is not a favorable imbalance. However, he does have 2 extra pawns on the queen side, this a6 and b7 pawn. And it's a very complicated position, but black must be still somewhat better because white's king is quite exposed. The rooks can dance around the king and cause a lot of threats. This pawn on f5 can become a weakness, and you can get the pawns rolling on the queen side. So I still fear for Luke here, and perhaps after the move f5, there are a number of moves here. b5 is the one that screams out to be played because it's just such a natural move. You get advancing your assets, and it's very important to use your assets wherever possible. And b5, you can play b4, you can do whatever you want. And again, it's very difficult to suggest a move for Luke. It's not like this position plays itself. There are a lot of positions where there are a lot of natural moves that you can play quickly. But if I had a minute and a half here and I was white and my opponent played b5, I would really start being very concerned. So Luke McShane with it all to do to save this one, and we'll keep an eye out as to how Gil Popilski reacts.
Right, Lawrence, you've got all the reasons to be concerned here, but I've got some good news for Robert and you. We're going over to Maurice, and you guys are going to be very happy with this one.
Thanks, Tanya. I am with Stacy and Sade Moore, originally from Detroit, now living in Vegas. Both of them are chess players. Stacy actually in the tournament. Stacy, you've got a score you're not too happy with. I can tell you had a little attitude, even though you won the last round game. Tell me about that.
I won the last round, but he blundered, and the game before that, my flag dropped, so I was really angry.
Okay, so you got 2 points out of 4 in the under 1600 section. How are you feeling about playing in the tournament in Vegas?
I love it. It's so much fun. I'm having so much fun. Even before the game started, everyone's so cool. so I'm having a lot of fun.
Sade, you're here also. You were in Chicago for a few years. Stacy convinced you to come out and join her. You've been playing chess from way back in the day, from what you tell me. What's your first chess experience?
My first chess experience, I was probably 3, and my mom set us down, my sister and my brother and I, to learn how to play.
And since then, why haven't you kept it up?
I kept it up all the way until college, and life took over, but now I'm kind of jealous that I'm not in the tournament right now.
There you go. But how you feel about supporting your sister in this event?
I'm so happy for her. I'm proud of her. I know she hasn't been in a tournament forever, and I'm just really happy that she's getting back into it because it's like promoting me getting back into it.
Stacy, why did you choose to play in this tournament in particular?
Because I live in Vegas, and it's about time that I win $1 million. So it was time to try. You know, I'm still trying at it, but you know, I don't know.
Tell us what you do here in Vegas.
I'm a professional dancer. I dance for a Marquee nightclub in Tao at the Venetian, and also at Lavo at Palazzo.
And you?
I'm a bartender, server, and all-around hospitality girl.
From what I understand, you're dancing tonight as well.
Yeah, I have to work in about an hour, so at the Cosmo across the street, but I'm trying to get the other chess players to come, but of course we have to be at around at 11 a.m., so I don't think half of them will go.
I think mostly we try to be responsible in these tournaments. Well, thanks so much for joining us, ladies. Stacy and Sade Moore from Detroit, Michigan, the big D in the house. Let me get a shout out to my friends in Detroit, the great city. Back to you guys.
Robert and Lawrence need a while to recover from that one.
Wow, Tanya, I'm actually doing just fine. I respect the chess players that we had on screen. And in fact, we met at the photo shoot. She's a very interesting woman. And I actually flew through Detroit to get to Vegas. So that was my first time being in Detroit. I didn't get to see outside, unfortunately.
I absolutely do not believe you. But we can move on to some games now, Robert, if you're ready.
I'm always ready. And we have a result, actually, between Yangyi Yu and Isan Ortiz Suarez. As we had discussed, White has won that game. Yangyi Yu's moved on to 4 out of 4. He played a pretty excellent game, besides missing that beautiful shot that Lawrence showed us earlier, that checkmating plan that would have been the move of the tournament. And he's moved on to 4-0. You see his scorecard here, beating Ortiz Suarez, who was having a fabulous tournament himself, and now drops back to 3 out of 4. So Yangyi Yu, we have to look out for him once again, as he's a repeat customer from Millionaire Chess 1.
I have to say that Yu Yangyi looks like he is going to make it to Millionaire Monday. I mean, 4 out of 4 is a fabulous start, and he's played some strong opposition as well. Won against them convincingly. But the first round, he did have a forfeit.
Yeah, he had a forfeit win in the first round, so that was a bit of an unnerving start. I mean, he got the full point, but you want to get into game shape as quickly as possible instead of having to be fed to the sharks without having any experience under your belt. But he's an incredibly talented and gifted player, and he's 4 out of 4, so he's got nothing to sweat about.
Right. Well, we're going to look at more stuff once we're back. We're going in for a break right now.
On Millionaire Monday, after 5 grueling days of competition, 9 players claimed the bragging rights and the biggest cash prizes. But there's no rest for the weary. 9 division winners will have a shot at becoming a millionaire. Here it is, 64 squares on the chessboard. Each has a prize, $1 million.
2 days away from Millionaire Monday, things are really starting to heat up. Robert, let's have a look at our last year's big winner, Wesley So.
Yeah, it's really, the heat of the battle is kind of really getting a hold of both players. It looks like White is just dominating. Earlier, White absolutely was. The pawn on f6 in this position is menacing. It's supported by another pawn on g5. But right now, both sides have 5 pawns. It's a very weird pawn structure. All of White's pawns, 4 out of 5 on the king side over there. And Black has these 2 pawns in the center. But right now, it's not exactly easy to suggest a move for Black. I think d5 is the move to make, attacking the rook on c4. But still, now your pawns are a little weaker. I'm a bit concerned after a move like a4, just gaining space on the queen side. And I mean, if I'm Wesley So, I really like my chance still. And as the statistics back me up, 61% in Wesley's favor. But I mean, earlier it was just so much better that he must be a bit disheartened to have missed a very easy way to win. But he's a fighter, he'll find the way. And I mean, it looks very, very excellent for him still.
I agree with you, Robert. I was actually expecting Wesley to wrap this up way quicker, but there's a lot to watch out in this game because Durrarbelli is down to a little less than 2 minutes, and Wesley So also just has 4 minutes in his clock. Let's go to Lawrence if he has recovered from Morris's interview we saw last. Lawrence, what do you think about this position?
No, I have not recovered. I'm going to need therapy for some weeks thereafter. If only chess tournaments were this beautiful all the time. On the board, however, I have to just commend Durrarbelli. We'll go back to this game, but we should point out there has been a very significant result, and Hikaru Nakamura has done the business against Sam Sevian. He played a really great game today, Hikaru, and there we have Sunil Weeramantri. Have I pronounced that incorrectly?
Sunil Weeramantri.
Weeramantri. I don't know. I said Weeramantri. We are with Weeramantri. I'll try and make that work. Sunil is Hikaru's stepfather and long-term manager, somebody I've been very friendly with as well. He actually had a stint in England talking about the game with Hikaru now, and it was a really great game. So that means that Hikaru is very much up there. There aren't going to be that many people on a perfect score after this game, perhaps a handful at most, and Hikaru's going to be sitting just behind them. So he's in absolutely no danger about missing out on his place at the Millionaire Monday playoff. Sam Sevian, on the other hand, a young grandmaster, an upcoming talent, well, he's going to take this loss on the chin. He's, of course, not in the same league as Hikaru Nakamura. He'll be hoping for a strong finish nevertheless. And in other news, if we go down a bit further, I was talking about this Luke McShane game. I think Luke McShane is down to his last seconds here. I don't know if we can get, once again, no, he's still got a minute, but now Gil Popilski has run his time down. They've both got a minute, and they've both got a fair few moves to make. And I believe Popilski has just played the move pawn to b5, so he's finally moving his pawns up the board, and McShane plays the move rook to a2. That's a good move by Luke, hitting this weak pawn on a6. And I think Popilski in this position, well, I'm not quite sure what he's going to do. Somehow, suddenly, has he made a big error there? Has he just lost a pawn?
Yeah, Lawrence, looks like he's made a big blunder. Allowing rook a2 to hit a6 allows White to gain immense pressure, and he's gone g takes f5, and it looks like immediately Luke responded with g takes f5 himself. And, I mean, it's big trouble for Popilski. Just a few moves ago, it looked like he was going to upset Luke McShane, but now that pawn on a6 is backwards. The rook on a2 is barreling down. And also, rook can come to g2 now with monstrous threats. The rook on g2 forces that king over to h8, and from there he can try to make even a checkmate after a move like bishop to h6. So very little time on their clocks. They're blitzing it out here, and Popilski does not look happy. He's got his hand on his chin. He's kind of scratching at his lip here, and the statistics back McShane right now, 67%, a huge swing.
Let's have a look at the times, guys, because Popilski must be down right to his last seconds, and he's still got 5 moves to make. This is unbelievable. What a shame for Popilski, who previously, he was playing so well in this game, and he's just played 26 seconds left. He's got to make against, and what move has he made? Rook to c4, I believe. Rook takes a6 is on the board. Now Popilski, 24, 23, 22, and he's played, what has he played there? Has he played an ingenious move? He might have played an absolutely ingenious move here. Has he played the move knight takes f5?
Yes, but it looks like a huge blunder. I don't see what exactly he's going for here, because all of White's pieces are protected. The rook on a6 protects the knight on e6. The knight on e6 protects the bishop on f4. So it looks like he's actually blundered quite badly. And might have made the move h5, it looks like. A pretty useless move. But if that's what's happening, then this is all over. Luke McShane also up 30 seconds on the clock. It's very simple for him now. He's got 3 minor pieces for a rook. That king on g8 might become ensnared by those minor pieces, and a checkmate could be delivered. And Luke McShane very coolly just went, looks like bishop h6. And I mean, this is all over.
No, he went knight h6.
He went knight h6, which is way stronger.
That's it. That's game over.
Yeah, and it's game over. Gil Popilski resigns here, and he must be absolutely disheartened. Look at him. He shook his head, but he's got to be brokenhearted. He was completely, just dominating the game. McShane breathes a sigh of relief as they set up the pieces. Really, really heart-wrenching stuff there.
Unlucky Gil Popilski.
Right, Robert. And Popilski looks inconsolable right now because, like you said, the whole game he had it in his hand till the very end. But it is so important to have that time with you so you're able to get through with a good position. And we've got another result with us.
Yeah, and Barayev won his game, but I just want to point out that McShane doesn't look particularly happy either. He looks like, he knows he just, survived that scare, and he looks, that he's breathing a sigh of relief, but it's not great to win like that. Being on the worst side for most of the game, and then getting a win, but maybe he knows I'm talking about him because he looked right in the camera. And Evgeny Barayev, we were looking at his game earlier. He was 3-0 playing for Rai Mendija, the surprise of the event so far. And Evgeny Barayev wins the game with the black pieces. That's incredibly important because he'll have white in the next round, presumably, an undefeated score.
Very nice game by Barayev, and Lawrence has got something to tell us.
Well, as we've seen, we're approaching the time scrambles, that point in the round where people are trying to make it to move 40 to get the bonus time. And poor Conrad Holt, an American star, he has just resigned. He completely botched his position. He was doing absolutely fantastically. And just a few moves ago, I told you about this queen on h7. I said it won't get trapped. There's no knight that can get to it. Well, Le Quang Liam has found another way to get to it with a rook. And poor Conrad had such a great position. He didn't have to go into all of these complications, in my opinion. He could have kept the bishop way back on g3. Instead, he went down this very murky route. And suddenly, he realized, whoops, I'm going to lose my queen because that queen cannot move. And what a terrible loss. And that means that Le Quang Liang, I'll try it again. I'll try that again. Le Quang is really in a fantastic position in the tournament, 4-0. He's going to be joining the likes of Yu Yangyi. And I was going to say Wesley So, but I'm so impressed by Durabaili. His resistance has been fantastic. I'm not even sure Durabaili's worse anymore. I have to tell you, I'm looking at the position. He's just played absolutely perfectly in such a difficult passive position. And we're looking here, look at his face. You can tell that he is so much happier compared to before. And they've just made move 40 as well. So they've made the time control. I think I might even take black here, believe it or not, because I like the fact that I can roll my central pawns down the board, e3, d5, d4. They're being supported by the rooks. And the problem with the white pawns is they're not really supported by the rooks. And I mean, it must be totally unclear, the position. It would be wrong for me to give an assessment, a clear assessment, because I simply don't know. But I think Black is doing fine.
Right, Lawrence. Wesley definitely seems to have ruined his position a little, not a little bit, quite a bit. And Durarberry, for the first time in his game, is not shaking his head anymore. Robert.
Right. Yeah, he knows that he's actually, the tides have turned in his favor. And I actually agree with you, Lawrence. It's not that Black objectively is winning or even better at this moment. I think it's very unclear. And with that in mind, Wesley So knows in the past he was completely dominating the game. And when you backtrack in your mind saying, wow, what just happened? And then you start thinking about that, that's when you lose the thread and start making poor moves. So in the position after the move King F1, Lawrence, I agree with you. A move like pawn to E3, I mean, it's just so tempting. You're pushing your pawn down the board, barreling at that white king, and where is that king going to go? On F1, it's not very safe. At some point, you might consider going queen to B7, which will threaten queen to H1 check, which you can't allow if you're white. So king to G2, for example, is a response, but you don't want to keep moving your king around. You're not achieving anything by going king G1 to F1 to G2, and after a move like E2, well, I mean, I agree, Lawrence. I mean, it's looking very, very dangerous, and Wesley So's not careful. He might actually lose this game, and shocking turn of events considering how great his position was in the early going.
He was completely dominating in the opening. In fact, we thought he was going to be going out celebrating his birthday tonight, but that might not be the case. Robert, what else do we have?
Well, besides potentially ruined birthday plans for Wesley So, we have a bunch of interesting games still going on here. Well, we saw a bunch of games finish under the time control, and well, let's go to some games we haven't really looked at, and here's one of them. Pablo Salinas Herrera, a player I'm actually not familiar with, lost to Sergey Azarov. Azarov, I mean, he had a miracle earlier today. He was playing Denis Boros, and we looked at that game for a while, and he was completely losing at a certain point, but now dominating fashion, bounces back to join just behind the leaders at 3.5 out of 4, and he just look at this position. Looks like Black was already setting up for a new game. The king is on E8, the rook is on its starting position H8, the queen on D8, the knight on B8. I mean, all that. I think it looks like Black's attempt before resigning was maybe to bring this rook from C7 to A7 to A. I mean, it's terrible. And then finally finish it off with bishop to F8. But realistically, that's a great attacking win for Azarov. It only took 33 moves to get such a dominating position, up material, checkmating his opponent. A really fine showing by the white side here.
Azarov totally killing Black in this game.
Let's just go to the next board. I mean, it makes sense, right? We had Raven Sturt with the white pieces playing Andrei Stukopin, and Sturt had a miracle draw against Gregory Kaidanov earlier today. He was getting blown out of the water in the early going and somehow survived. And Tanya, I mean, look at that king on G6.
What was that? That's amazing. I love kings when not in an endgame. In an endgame, it would make sense. But here we've got queens on the board, rooks on the board, and the knight. That must have been quite a journey.
And Tanya, sometimes we like to try to promote our king. I mean, you know, get our king to the other side of the board. Maybe you get an extra king on the board. Give us a little more room to wiggle with. But no, realistically, it looks like Stukopin played a fabulous game. And what actually happened, if we just go back a number of moves, well, I mean, look at that king on F3. It's where it started. Black, his king is, you know, a little bit unsafe on C7, but after queen takes A7 check, rook B7, queen had a retreat, and Black was much faster. The rook barreled down to H2, and knight came to E4. Queen retreated to F7 check, and if your king is coming up the board to G4, that's not a good sign.
Right.
And after knight F5, rook to F1, well, now, I'm sorry, but knight takes E3 check is absolutely brutal. King ran up to G5, queen to D5 check. Only move really is king takes G6, and queen G8 is checkmate. I mean, beautiful finish. You won't see something like this practically ever, and especially at an elite level as here at Millionaire Chess. So really just must feel great to win with the black pieces in a vital 4th round game like that.
Absolutely. But when we've got a king like that, you know you want to checkmate it as soon as you can. Like you said, you don't get these opportunities every time, but when you do, you want to make the most of it. Let's go over to Lawrence.
You certainly do, and we've seen a lot of really amazing games, a lot of fantastic tactics today. It's been a very interesting round. I think we're all tactic lovers here. When we see beautiful combinations, it gives us a warm feeling inside. Talking about warm feelings inside, whenever I see Alejandro Ramirez's name, well, it doesn't give me quite that feeling, but he is a great guy. He's got a great position as well. He's playing Maximilian Meinhardt, a good friend of mine who has been in the confessional booth more times than anybody else. I think he just loves the camera. We might have to invite him on to the broadcast as well. He's playing black today, but unfortunately for him, his position really is reeking of horribleness. He's a pawn down, but on top of that, he has got real problems with his king. The dark squares are being dominated by white, so a move here like queen to d2, threatening queen down to d8, almost checkmate. It feels like it's impossible to stop, because if you go king to e8 here, then I can play a move like bishop to f6, and then I'm threatening mate again. You probably have to go queen to d7, only move. And maybe you're just about resisting for a while, but it feels like white is the one pressing substantially, and I think black's going to have real problems holding this. So wouldn't surprise me if Alejandro went on to convert. In the game between Yang and Gregory Kaidanov, the experienced Gregory Kaidanov, we've got a position where Yang has done really well to hold thus far, but he's now entered an endgame where he's getting outclassed, and the move rook to d4, I think, is really bad news for Yang, because despite there being level material, if you take that rook off, which looks like one of the only moves, pawn takes d4, actually your advantage, your queenside pawn advantage, 4 versus 3, doesn't count because of this pawn on c2. You can't actually move it and mobilize your forces. Whereas on the king's side, black is ready just to play f5 or h5 very quickly, create a passed pawn, and win the game. So I fully expect Gregory Kaidanov to win that one, and that's going to be a big win for him. So some interesting games still in play, and I'm going to throw it back to you guys, because I believe we have a very special guest with us.
We do have a very special guest, and I'm going to do my best to avoid any awkward moments this time, Luke. Let's get to your game. That was a tough one.
Yeah, I'm relieved above all, actually. It was my position out of the opening was not great, and then I thought it improved a little bit, and then a couple of moves later it went downhill again quite fast, and I was trying to find moves just to hang on, not lose immediately, and well, fortunately my opponent got confused in my time trouble, but it certainly wasn't a very convincing win.
Right, and actually we saw that when the game ended, and Robert commented on it that you had won, but you weren't looking all that happy. So what happens in such a situation? Is your first thought about, thank God I got out of that well, or is it, what did I do today?
Yeah, I was super happy. I felt completely relieved. I still do. Yeah, that was my first thought. I just thought, yeah, well, I managed to get away with it this time, but you know,
right,
next time I won't be so lucky, I'm sure.
Well, I hope you will be. And what about the two rounds a day format? How are you dealing with that?
I had a little nap this afternoon. That's about all I could manage to do, because I had quite a long game this morning as well, and I realized when I sat down at the board this, you know, for the start of this game, I felt pretty tired at the start of the game, so that's never a good sign. But you know, I guess my opponent was tired too.
Right, Luke, stamina does play an important role. Tell me one thing now, in this tournament, obviously you do not have so much time for preparation against your opponents, but there are certain players that you do know you're going to face eventually, these top players here. So before coming, do you prepare especially for these players, or do you just take it as it comes?
I take it as it comes.
Oh, okay, I'm not going to believe that, but okay.
So going forward, you currently have 3.5 out of 4. There are several people on 4 out of 4. What do you anticipate for tomorrow morning? I mean, are you going to go in and try to play for a win off the bat, or does it matter what color you have? How do you go into such an important round as round 5 in the morning?
Well, I suppose a lot will depend on who I'm playing, but I think well, it's a good score, but there are people ahead, so there's always you want to be kind of looking to catch people if you can. So I will play to win as I always do. But of course I'll be careful.
So you're going to do your best Leonardo DiCaprio impersonation, because if you're trying to catch you if you can, well, you got to be elusive to get to the top. But
Exactly.
I mean, it was a very resourceful effort today. I mean, of course, some difficulty there, but you said you're relieved. You look like you were just breathing out all the tension and the stress of that game.
Exactly.
So you plan to just get a good night's rest and prepare for the morning?
That's all you can do. That's all you can do. Yeah.
I have a question for Luke. You're, after certain somebody, the next person I'd like to win this tournament. When was the last time you played, let's say we're all hoping that you get to Millionaire Monday, when was the last time you played rapid chess for the stakes that we could be looking at in this tournament? Because Millionaire Monday is all about the rapid format, potentially, and with so much on the line. How do you feel about potentially playing a very quick time control?
Well, I don't remember, so I think that tells you.
It's been that long,
I think that tells you all you need to know.
Oh my goodness.
Well, the good thing about rapid chess is that it's a bit. Everybody knows it's a lottery, so all you can do is play the best you can on the day and hope for the best. There's really nothing more that you can do than that. So the important thing is just to try and be relaxed and not really think about trying to win the tournament. Just try and play a good game. That's all you can do.
And just one more thing: if you do finish very well in this tournament, even win it, I think me and you, we should show these Americans just how things are done, right? So I'm your wingman for that Sunday night, rather Monday night, when everything's over. I think we should show these boys what a real party is.
I know I can count on you.
You can count on me, buddy.
Be very afraid, Luke. That is not something you should be looking forward to. But just taking off on what you were talking about, rapid play. Now, you're someone who does tend to come into a lot of time trouble, but you play really well in those situations. And I'm not just saying that because I'm slightly biased, but it's true. But do you think that actually works as an advantage in a rapid play situation, or it doesn't matter at all?
That's a good question. Rapid play is very different from being in time trouble because the flow of the game tends to be very different. For example, today, although I was in time trouble, but it's much, the context of the game was very important. The fact that I'd been more or less outplayed for the whole game. My opponent felt that he was looking for the knockout that he deserved, having played a good game up to that point, and not finding it, becoming frustrated and eventually making some mistakes. Rapid play, well, certainly you can get into that situation in rapid play, but it's a very different beast. You start out. There's a lot of things that can happen on the way. So it could be quite a different experience.
Right. Hopefully, we will find out on Millionaire Monday. Thank you for joining us, Luke,
Pleasure.
and good luck for the rest of the tournament.
Thanks very much.
Yeah, good luck, Luke. We're all rooting for you here. Still some games going on, and the key game of the round is board one. It is Wesley So against Durar Bailey, and Wesley's body language, it tells the story. Before, he was leaning back, he was out of his chair, he had a smile on his face, he was happy, and now he's in a position which is, well, maybe still better for him, but somehow it got really unclear, and he's just played a move here. We're just going to get that on the board, hopefully. I'm waiting for the update. Rook to b4. But this move, already the computer doesn't like. It just goes to show how tricky this position is. Because now if, not Popilski, but Durar Bailey retreats his queen back to d8, queen just does a lovely job there. It can swing across to a8, for a really annoying check. And we were talking about this long diagonal before. That can be dangerous. There are also ideas like rook f5 in the e2 and rook f5. I really don't know who I'd prefer to be here. It's just one of these positions where I think the last big mistake will be the losing mistake. It's that kind of position. And the way Durabaili's playing, he's managed to fight his way back into this game. Such a difficult position early on. It wouldn't surprise me if he caused an upset here. Despite the percentages you see on the screen, 59% for Wesley So to win. That's because he is slightly better according to the computer, but it is totally unclear, this position. And I think Durabaili, after rook b4, there aren't many moves. So queen d8 just makes, I mean, where else are you going to put the queen? You're not going to put it on a7. You're not going to put it on a5. You're going to put it on d8. I think that's quite clear. So Wesley So still in for a bit of a task. And I think that one, along with the Meinhardt game and the Kaidanov game, are the only remaining games. And according to my clock here, Yang has only got 15 seconds versus Kaidanov, or has he reached the time control on that? Because it looks as though they're both way too short of time and should have been given some bonus time. So we'll see about that. But Wesley So, what's he going to do to be able to win this one? He's going to have to crack a very, very resilient Durabaili.
Right, Lawrence, Durabaili looks like he's absolutely determined to ruin Wesley's birthday. And also, if you notice, this is the first time I'm seeing Wesley actually look at the board. I mean, all through the tournament with his positions, he's been looking so indifferent and so cool and calm, but he knows that something has gone wrong here.
And Durabaili found the best defense with queen d8. I just want to move back before rook to b4. I thought the move, instead of rook b4, I was anticipating rook c8. And I'm not sure if it's a better move, but to me it just looks so natural. You're giving the king a check. And what exactly can you do? If you make this move rook to d8, I have the beautiful resource, rook 1 to c7. The main idea is I'm cutting off the queen's protection on d8. And if you make the move rook takes c8, I simply capture back on c8. King f7, I have queen c4 check. And where are you going, right? If you go d5 here, I make the absolutely phenomenal move. And this has to be the move that he missed. Not easy to see. Rook f8 check.
Oh.
This would have been the Yu Yang Yi game was amazing. This would have been the move in the tournament. And the reason why it's so powerful is that if you go king takes f8, which of course is a natural looking response, you have queen c8 check, rook back to e8, and after queen d7,
oh my God.
White begs the question, how are you going to stop me from checkmating you? My simple threat is queen to g7 check. And of course, it's a ridiculous line that in the heat of the moment, no human could ever possibly see. You know, this is just absolutely insane. But you do have to think about the 7th rank. And queen on the 7th is very dangerous. And in this line, you can move your rook out to e4, but unfortunately, after queen g7 check, king e8, f7, and I get a queen, which would be game over. Unrealistic to expect Wesley So to see a variation like this, but it was in the air, and he could have just wowed us here in the studio with this amazing finish. But instead, if we go back to the game itself, I mean, okay, who can fault him for not finding this ridiculous variation? Instead, he made the move rook to b4, and queen to d8 was played, and it's really anyone's game at this point.
Right, Robert, that would have been some finish.
I mean, really unbelievable.
Right. We're going to keep an eye out on this game. Let's go in for a break. See you in a bit.
Welcome to Chess.com. Chess.com is social. Now you can play chess with your friends whenever you want, whether that's middle of the day or middle of the night. You can get instantly matched up with one of over 5 million other members from around the world. You play live games in real time, turn-based games at your convenience, or tournaments with anyone at any time. Chess.com is mobile. You can play online from your computer, or you can play on the go from your tablet or your smartphone. No matter where you go, whether you're at work, grabbing a bite to eat, or just enjoying some time at the park, your games are there with you, and keeping multiple chess games going has never been easier. Chess.com is for learning. Don't just play chess, get better. The best chess training resources have never been more accessible. Learn essential chess strategy quickly and easily with the extremely popular Tactics Trainer tool. Improve your game in ways you didn't know were possible with training videos by chess masters. And regardless of where you're at now, take your game to the next level with multiple simple-to-use training tools. Chess.com is for everyone. Over 250 million chess games have been played on Chess.com. And it doesn't matter if you're a beginner or a grandmaster. Chess.com is the place to play and learn chess. So create your free account now and see what Chess.com is for you.
On Millionaire Monday, after 5 grueling days of competition, 9 players claimed the bragging rights and the biggest cash prizes. But there's no rest for the weary. 9 division winners will have a shot at becoming a millionaire. Here it is, 64 squares on the chessboard. Each has a prize, $1 million.
Welcome back. We are into round 4 of the Millionaire Chess Open, and we've had some condition changes, Robert.
Yeah, it looks like a light went out in the main playing hall in the ballroom, but there's still plenty of light to go around there. It doesn't look like they're
the action
sitting too
hasn't
much in the dark.
stopped.
Yeah, I mean, they're still playing their hearts out there. We saw Wesley So playing Vasif Durabali. I mean, you know, there's a minimal distraction at this point. They're so focused in the game. All the lights could go out and they'd probably still play because, you know, these grandmasters can see all the moves in their head anyway.
Right, but I think it is more interesting for us to have the lights on, but no play has been stopped. At the Millionaire Chess, we have got 600 players from 50 countries who are going to be fighting it out for some crazy amounts of money. Let's have a look at the prizes. So in the open section, the entire prize fund that is up for grabs is $429,000. In the under 2200, 2800 section, the prize pool is $360,000. In the under 1600, 14 and 1200, it's $185,800. The top prize is something like $40,000. So the person who wins these section goes home a very rich man. In the unrated section, it's $6,000, and there are special prizes worth $25,200, Robert.
Yeah,
That's a total prize fund of $1 million.
Very impressive purse right there.
Let's also have a look at our broadcast schedule so you don't miss watching our faces. Round one started on Thursday, October 8th at 2 p.m. We're into round 4 right now. It's Friday, October 9 in Vegas, 8 p.m. Tomorrow, you'll catch us at 1 p.m. Remember, these are all Pacific times. So tomorrow, we're going to be back on at 1 p.m., followed by our next round in the evening at 8 p.m. And then round 7, again at 1 p.m., and then we're going to have playoffs.
Well, we might have playoffs, depends if there's a tie, but we'll be back here in the studio, of course, every single day, covering all the exciting action. And speaking of action, Wesley So and Vasif Durabali, they don't have that much of it right now, but they actually repeated moves, and I wanted to pull that board up, and it looks like maybe they'll continue. Oh, actually, Wesley So deviated. So we last saw E3, rook to B4, and here we saw queen D8, rook back to C4, and queen to B6. So Vasif Durabali said, you know what are you going to do? Can you do anything better than just repeat the moves and make a draw? Well, Wesley So made the move rook to C6 here. And now that black queen can't go back to D8. Because if you go back to D8, well, I'm just going to win your queen by pinning that queen on D8 to the king on F8. So if you can't go back to D8, where can you go? Well, there are several options. Queen B7 looks very tempting. It pins that rook on C6 to the king on G2, kind of forcing this move king to H3. Your king doesn't really want to slide out to that part of the board and maybe move like E2. I mean, it's really anyone's game at this point. I would be very nervous if I Wesley So, but allowing my opponent to push that pawn down to E2 because it's only one square away from queening. And Tanya, I mean, it's just looking so unclear. And Wesley So could have made a draw, but clearly he must see something.
I agree, Robert. I think Wesley refused repetition because he still believes in his position. But you know, this is so psychological. I mean, you have such a great game from the beginning that you kind of sometimes, if you've ruined it, you don't get practical about it and maybe take the draw when you can, but you keep pushing it, and sometimes that can go against you. Lawrence, what do you think?
It certainly can go against you, but I'm looking at the position, and what happens if Durabali plays the move queen to B5? A bit more of an aggressive option, because with queen to B5, suddenly the idea of swooping down to E2, queen E2 check is in the air. On top of that, you might just be threatening to go queen D5 check in a lot of lines and E2. And as I said before, I'm not really sure what on earth is going on here. I feel like Dora Bailey is the one who's got even better practical chances for some reason, because it's not clear how Wesley ever organizes checkmate now. And with all of these checks that Dora Bailey has at his disposal on d5, on e2, and pushing the pawn, remember, as soon as that pawn gets to e2, suddenly White's entire army has to defend rather than attack. And that's been a major, that would be a major shift in the balance of the position. So I'm not sure at all as to whether rook c6 was a good move whatsoever, because after queen b5, I think Dora Bailey is really doing just fine, and the machine seems to agree. So, you know, a lot on the line here, and wouldn't it be a huge upset if Dora Bailey were to actually win this one, especially given the position he had out the opening? That would be mega. I believe he's got about 20 minutes or so left, but Wesley So has only got 5 minutes. We'll get a check on that. I can't see the clock. Maybe he's got a bit more, actually. It's 8.5 for Dora Bailey. Are you sure? But can we get, maybe we can get a close-up on the clock, because that looks like, I don't know if it's 8.5 or 18.5. It looks like there's a 1 in front of that. So, and he's played queen b5. He's played queen b5. Now, if I'm Wesley So, this is where I have a little gulp moment, I think, because really, I don't know if, yeah, it's Wesley who's got 8 minutes. So he's actually down on time. And Dora Bailey with 17 minutes. Let's have a look. Yeah, 8 minutes ticking down here, 17 and nearly 18 minutes for Dora Bailey. And suddenly Wesley So, he's got to, what do you do when you face a move like queen b5? You don't just react immediately. You've got to think, oh no, he's threatening queen e2 check, he's threatening queen d5 check, he's threatening e2, and I need to come up with an accurate move. I can tell you right now, Wesley So is going to spend a few minutes on this move, and then suddenly he's going to be the one in trouble. On top of that, I just failed to point out that this pawn on g5 is also on prise in some lines. Rook takes g5 is actually a potential threat in some positions, maybe after queen d5 check and rook takes g5. So I would take black here. I would actually take black.
Lawrence, I absolutely agree with you now. It's looking very, very scary, both for that white king and that pawn on g5. And once g5 falls, that f6 pawn loses its best friend, that pawn that's been protecting it all game. And it's very unclear what move white should make. For example, if you retreat rook c6 to c2, the idea is that you're covering this e2 square from the queen, and you know, black can no longer infiltrate with the check on e2, but rook takes g5 is very tempting. The only issue now is that the pawn on e3 is lost, so that trade might not favor black too much, but even a move like queen e5, and I don't see how black can lose a position like this. Very solid. Now the king is much safer than it was before. In fact, the white king doesn't really have a lot of breathing room either. If you give it some checks, there's nowhere it's safe to run. So queen b5 is an excellent move by Dora Bailey, and yeah, the time situation does not favor Wesley at all. He's a great blitz player, but that clock's running low.
Right, things have really started to look grim for Wesley. Time situation getting bad. We're going to come back to it. Let's go to Maurice first.
Yes, and I'm with Malaku Lauren from Jamaica, representing the Ice Green and Gold. My countryman, I was born in Jamaica, stayed there for 12 years. And Malaku, you have had an experience here because you came here through the satellite tournaments. Tell us how your satellite tournament was in Jamaica to qualify you to play at the Millionaire Chess Open.
Well, it was quite difficult. Several of the top players in Jamaica came out, like Warren Elliott. He gave me a stiff fight right throughout, right to the end, especially in the blitz at the end there.
So you managed to get here through the auspices, under the auspices of the Kasparov Chess Foundation. Now you're in Vegas. How is Vegas compared to Jamaica?
Well, it's hot just like Jamaica, but I see a lot of women walking around scantily clad all the time. That's different.
Well, they know how to party also in Jamaica. Reggae Sunsplash, of course.
Yes, of course. We party all the time in Jamaica. Well, not me particularly, just saying people in general.
And
The game you had last round, you told me, was a very difficult game. It looked like you had winning chances, and you managed to mess it up.
Yeah, I managed to mess it up. Towards the end, I played a beginner move. The only move that lost, I played that move.
Why is that? What happened?
I don't even know how to explain it. You know, it's just a blind spot probably, but it happens.
You played on 2 Olympic teams for Jamaica in 2004, 2014. You know how tough it is in competition coming back from a loss. What do you have to do now to get back in the runnings in this tournament?
I just need to get some rest, get some enjoyment, and I'll be okay.
You talk about enjoyment. We know today is Wesley So's birthday. Tomorrow is your birthday. Do you have any plans to celebrate in Vegas?
Most definitely, but I don't think I can say those plans on camera.
Man, you better relax until after the tournament is over. We know what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Thank you very much for joining us. Malaku Lauren from the island of my birth, Jamaica in the West Indies, having a good time here in Las Vegas, guys.
Lots of birthdays at the Millionaire Chess. I can't imagine a better place to celebrate your birthday.
I can't either, but I can tell you whose birthday it isn't, and that's Gregory Kaidanov. And he has had the worst day imaginable. He was completely winning earlier against Raven Sturt. Raven fought hard and held a draw. And in this game, I have the position on the board. He's playing Kaiki Yang, and he's completely winning here. This endgame is just over. But instead of winning the game, King G4, good move, good start. King C4, King takes H4. This is all going to plan. King takes C5. And now a horrific blunder by Gregory Kaidanov with the move A5.
Oh my
it goes from winning to draw immediately. Because the winning idea was simply King to G4 and running this H pawn down. You don't care about all your pawns on the queen side. But instead, he goes A5 here. And the move A5, in fact, makes an immediate draw. Yang went King D4, King G3. Kaidanov must have thought that his pawn is still queening, but no, C4 comes into play. And you have to take en passant, because if you don't, this pawn queens as well. So B takes C3, King D3 was played, and now after the move H5, the wonderful B4, what he missed is this fantastic move, King D3. I'll take you through the variation, quite fascinating variation right here. King takes C3 is actually losing, because after H5, B4, A takes B4 is check, and that's the vital difference. After King takes B4, this pawn comes first. H4, A5, H3, A6, H2, A7, H1 equals queen, and this reminds me of searching for Bobby Fischer. The pawns on the opposite sides of the board, one side queens first, and you cannot queen because my queen covers the vital queening square. So if we go back to the game after C4, B takes C3, Yang finds the impressive King D3. And now after the move H5, B4, now if you capture, well actually now white wins because my pawn comes first, A5, H4, and the same idea happens. So after the move B4 in the game, you have to go H4 and allow B5. Don't make the mistake of going pawn takes A5 and falling for that same trap. So the same methodology applies for both players. So instead after the move H4 here, the move B5, and both sides queen, and in fact, white will queen with check, and it is a draw. So unfortunately for Gregory Kaidanov, who is one of the most talented players in the United States, really a great veteran player, and one of the most experienced coaches, well, his students might have to teach him a little bit of a lesson here. You have to think a little more and find that winning plan. And, Gregory's a great person, but unfortunately, this is not his day.
What an endgame. That was so subtle, but this is the beauty of chess, Robert, that with such few pieces on the board, you have got to be so precise with your calculation. Well, Gregory is not going to be happy with this result, but what can you do? If you miss it, you own up to it. Let's go back to what happened in Wesley's game.
Yeah, Wesley So, the top board. Well, he also has to own up to some mistakes because he had an amazing initiative in the early going, was pretty much completely winning, but things are not so easy now. We have a view on the clock here, which is perfect. 5 minutes and 41 seconds for Wesley So, 13 minutes counting down for Vasif Durabeli. And, well, the position at hand, I mean, Black's king is safe on F7. It's tucked there. There's no checks. And the move Rook takes G5 would be very tempting for me to play. And the odds are 50-50 here, and really it's anyone's game because time is dwindling. Really, both sides don't have that much time to calculate these like very complicated lines. And after a move like rook takes e2, rook e5 seems to be very solid. And I don't know, as Lawrence was saying earlier, Tanya, I really think that black is picking up steam, and I'd be quite worried if I were Wesley So.
Right, Wesley. And even though the engines are probably saying that it is an equal position, but this is anything but a level game. I think it is anybody's game. Wesley knows he's messed up a completely winning game, and I still believe when he had the chance, he should have taken that draw by repeating, because now he can get into a lot of trouble.
Right, and an equal game doesn't mean a drawn game. That's a very important distinction. That because 50-50, yes, maybe if the computers were playing, they would draw each other. But we're human after all. There's not much time on the clock, and Wesley So really has to move quickly. Otherwise, as his clock ticks lower and lower and lower, he's more prone to making a mistake. And rook takes g5 was played by Vasif Durabeli, and this is the position as it stands. And of course, you have to take on e2. Otherwise, I don't know what you're doing if you're Wesley So. Rook takes e2 seems standard. And a move even like queen to d5, trading queens. Black has absolutely no problems here. And a move like rook to e5 as well, cutting off that rook from the open file. I mean, black is not losing this game for sure. I don't think white will lose. I think the game will fizzle out into a draw, but it's been fascinating chess and 5 minutes of counting down for Wesley So. Fantastic blitz player, of course, but he's got to be upset that he's really spoiled what could have been a perfect 4-for-4 start.
Right, and we're looking at the camera, and he has made a move. In fact, he did go for rook into e2.
And it looks like, yeah, he's under 5 minutes left, but it is actually quite, his pieces start getting traded off. It'll be quite simple to salvage the half point. I mean, he's not in any real danger. So Wesley So is going to split the point with Vasif Durabeli. Look at him. He's clearly upset, but what can you do? When your opponent plays stubborn defense, it's hard to beat him.
Right. Lawrence, what do you think about what's going on?
I've been saying this for most of the broadcast, so I think we just have to give a huge round of applause to Durabeli for putting up the kind of defense he's done, because the opening went terribly for him. He was really, I don't know if he was losing, but he was very close to losing. And he just found a series of only moves. So what can you say, especially given it's an evening round, to play with the precision he has, the defense? What's he done? He doesn't look happy at all. He's given up the pawn on e2. Does he think he's made a mistake here? You would like to play the move queen to d5. Is there a problem with that move? Doesn't look like there's any problem with queen to d5 at all, because after queen takes queen, rook takes queen, if you have to defend this pawn on f6 with rook f2, you can just go rook f5, and you win that pawn by force. And that kind of position, well, that will probably peter out to a draw, because you're going to win the a6 pawn, takes rook a8, for example, and that's a draw all day long, actually. So I don't know what he's upset about. I think he's probably going to play queen d5 simply because rook e5 is a really optimistic way to play, and queen d5 is just the most natural human move. You've been on the back foot for the whole game. You have a chance just to liquidate the position into something that is essentially drawn. The percentages are a bit optimistic in my opinion. I don't think black is 56%, but I'm just really intrigued to see what his next move is. It will show. He has played rook e5. He wants to win this. That's unbelievable. He's played rook e5. He's looking for something more, and maybe he's thought, well, Wesley So he's short on time. He's going to be under pressure, and perhaps he was expecting queen d5, but rook e5 is a great shot. The point is that if you take this rook off on e5, after d takes e5, suddenly this rook on d7, which has been quite passive for some time, suddenly can swing into the game via d2, via d3, and rook d2 check is already a deadly threat, because, I don't know, let's say white played a silly move here like h4, rook d2 check, and if king h3, suddenly you've got to deal with this move queen d7, and it's not mate, but you're losing a rook, you're losing a queen, you're losing the whole joint. So actually a really interesting decision by Durabeli, showing real guts and ambition. A lot of players against somebody like Wesley would just bail out. I probably would have just bailed out with Queen D5, having been on the back foot for so long. But Durabaili's actually trying to win this one. And now Wesley, under 4 minutes for the rest of his game, he's got to think, oh no, how do I get out of this one? And probably he has to play the move Rook E to C2 to keep the balance. After which, maybe the move Rook C5 is actually a good move, and you force an exchange of rooks. Rook takes C5, D takes C5, probably the Rook on C8 I would take just to keep... But here, again, Black's got a nice blockade, he's got a pass pawn, maybe he's going to try and win. And Wesley So, he's approaching the 3-minute mark, he's having a think, and I think he's wondering, my goodness, is this really happening?
Yeah, and psychologically speaking, it's very difficult for Wesley to play. He knows he was much, much better earlier, and now he's in trouble. I mean, Rook E5, we go to the actual live board here after Rook E5. Very brave decision, but a very smart one. To win this event, you have to take some risk. And Vasif Durabaili, who was, like you said, he was on the back foot for most of the game in trouble, he took a risk in the right moment. He defended excellently, superbly. And now, look at that clock. 2 minutes and 40 seconds and counting down. 10 minutes for Black. Black is very safe. The king on F7 is actually tucked away behind that pawn on F6. And so if these rooks get traded, I mean, look at again, the clock is going tick, 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 tick. Tanya, I mean, are you worried for Wesley So here?
I completely agree with you, Robert. I mean, this is the best position Durabaili has had all game. And he knows that it's not been better than this. He's seen Wesley's clock. He's looked at Wesley and he can see the pressure building up on his face. This is his chance. And like you said, if you've got to make it big, no guts, no glory. You've got to go for this, and that's what he's done.
Yeah, and he's got his Durabaili as his hands over his ears. He doesn't want to be distracted at all. Find the best moves. I mean, he's really, look at this clock situation. 1 minute and 45 seconds of going downwards. Granted, Wesley So is a phenomenal, absolutely great blitz player.
Oh my word.
But you don't want to have this complex position on board against a 2,600 plus grandmaster in Vasif Durabaili and be, oh my God, almost under a minute and a half. He went Rook takes you up. This is
I think that's a
huge
big
blunder.
mistake. Huge mistake. Oh my goodness. D takes E5 is going to be played instantly. It's been played. And now 1.5 minutes, you've got to deal with Rook down to D2, Queen to D7, Queen down to the back to B1, King safe on F7. I'm telling you guys, I don't know. He's got what did he do? Did he find a move?
King H3, and that move looks like the best one to me. I mean, you know, I'm not sure, but look at the percentages on screen here brought to us by the MIT Media Lab. 72% in Black's favor, and I actually agree with that. And not necessarily because of the position on board. I do think Black is significantly better, but most important, that time. There's a time crunch for Wesley So here, and if he is not moving at the speed of light, I mean, he's just going to get even more time trouble, in which case he's not going to be able to find any good moves. And the king on H3, you don't want your king out there. A move like queen to D5 is possible. One, trading queens, giving me a far superior ending, because after queen takes D5, rook takes D5, my rook can swing over to A5. I'll gobble up this pawn on F6.
No, this ending is really bad.
This ending is really bad, but also, I mean, we've seen Vasif's style. He doesn't want to trade queens. So if we just go back here, maybe there's a better find than queen to D5. Well, queen D3 might be a better square to trade the queens, first of all, but maybe a simple move. Lawrence, A5. Tanya, what do you guys think about this move? A5. I mean, it just came to my mind here. Well, what can white do to improve the position? The queen is stuck to the F3 square because the F1 check would be disastrous for white. So a move like A5 is one you play in your opponent's time trouble, saying, what are you going to do now?
Right, that king on H3, any check can be. He's got absolutely no time. How is he going to find the best moves to keep this position on, to keep whatever little balance is left on? I'm not sure.
Yeah, and a move like Rook H8 is always going to be tempting for white, but the reason why it's actually not so great is that the move E4 is very tricky as well.
God.
And it's, I mean,
that's tricky.
It's tricky because you can't take on E4 with the queen, queen F1 check, king H4, and simply queen takes F6, and now actually this is even worse than when the rook is on C8, because you lose a rook. And after e4, you can't make the move rook h7 check because king g8 actually scoops up that rook on h7. The rook's en prise, the queen is en prise, you can't do that. And so here, after e4, made queen f4, but I was thinking that this move g5 is possible. And I mean, this king is quickly might be ensnared by the black pawns, and he's actually made a move. So let's get back to the live view. He went queen to d5.
Yeah, he played the very sensible, pragmatic move because he's seen that this ending is a 2 results ending. Queen takes d5, rook takes d5, and the problem is Wesley So's only got now 57 seconds. He's going to have to defend an inferior ending on the delay for another 20, 30 moves, and it's either a black win or Wesley So holds. I can't see Wesley holding this. I think this is, with the passed e-pawn, I think this is absolutely gross. He plays rook c7 check here. That's a good idea. He wants to provoke king takes f6, rook c6, king f5. But the problem is that after rook takes a6 in this particular position, you can come down to d2, and it's black's pawn that is way quicker than white's a pawn. You're just marching that guy down the board. The king is cut off. He's played rook d. He's played it. He's played rook d2, and the problem is a4, but now just e4. And what's going on?
Yeah,
you can't.
E4 is a great move, as is rook
G5.
a2 to start, and
Rook
g5, as Tanya said. I mean,
oh my God, g5.
You could be in danger of getting checkmate after g5.
I-
The only move here is g4 check by white to stop checkmate. After g4 and rook takes h2, that'd be mate. For example, a5 is unplayable. The g4 check,
Oh my
king
God.
h4, rook takes h2, mate. So if we just go back to the game here, after g5, g4 check is the only move. And after h takes g4, king g3, I mean, why not just make a move like rook d3, king f2, and rook a3? I mean, we've gained a pawn. Our pawn is still nice on e5, and the king can hide it on e4. And I'm just gaining space down the board. So a move like, I mean, g5 is very, very tempting. I mean, you have to be very careful for your Wesley. 41 seconds on the clock. Let's go back to the live board here for a second after a4. And Vasif knows that he's clearly on top here. I'm not quite positive it's winning, but I think that the 79%, the 80% chance of black winning is very true here.
Yeah, that's a good.
It's much more likely to me that black will win than white will hold a draw, especially in the time trouble. And,
Definitely.
You know, key here is patience by black, because you know that you can go g5 and you're forcing g4, but you might be better off just going rook a2 to begin
Yeah, I
with.
like rook a2, just not committing too much, you know, and
Lawrence,
getting
I have to say that I think black is more winning in this position than white was in the whole game. Just practically seeing that Wesley's got no time. Let's not forget there's no increment here. It's only a 5-second delay. He's got to play the whole game in 41 seconds now.
Yeah, that is not enough time to find the best way to combat black's pawn promotion here, because at 41 seconds, no way. And
rook
here,
a2.
Rook a2 was
and
played.
a good move.
And he's making me look good here by playing some moves. That's just rook a2 was played, and it looks like Wesley responded immediately with a5. But now e4. I mean,
No, e4 has got to be played. Surely it's the move. e4. You just march that guy down the board. e4. You have to go rook a8. We then go e3, and then if you go rook to e8.
e2 looks good here. I mean,
e2, a6.
And now g5 is a timely move. The real issue is after a7, you want to sacrifice your pawn. I go g4 check, king h4, e1 equals queen. You take my queen, I give you checkmate over here. So let's get back to the game, because they're moving it really, really quickly here. He went rook 8, e4 was played, and then rook a8 was played. And now look at the percentage, 88% in black's favor.
No,
I completely
Wesley.
agree. E3 should be played on the board. This is unbelievable. If e3 is played, it looks like Wesley So's going down to just, several more moves. He doesn't have time. He looks upset. I mean, you can see the side of his face. He was biting his lip, but it's his birthday. I mean, look at him. He looks absolutely dejected. Devastated. We've seen him throughout the event lean back, very calm. But look at him. He's hunched over the board. He has no time to really make and find good moves. And
but it's not even about the time anymore. I think the position is just lost.
Absolutely. I think the position is just lost. And importantly, Vasif has 4 or 4.5 minutes left.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of time to calculate the variations and move. The move on the board we should see is e3. A timely e3 looks completely winning. As we
He has played E3, in fact.
Oh my goodness.
This is tragic. But Wesley's moving instantly, so either he thinks he's holding or he just doesn't quite see how great this move E2 is now for black. Because E2, and with the threat of G5, so A6, G5, maybe I can try to escape with G4, but the big difference, guys, is that now G4 runs into King to F4.
Oh, but that move.
That is unbelievable.
That is an unbelievable move.
Because the problem is, again, after G takes H5, G4 check. If you bring your king to G2, well, now look at this line. King G2, E1 equals queen. Look at that, check. And if not king to G2, king H4, again, E1 equals queen, check. Rook takes, and rook takes H2, delivers a checkmate. So king to F4 is the nuance needed by black in this position to win. So G5, as we expect, is actually the only winning move in my estimation here.
Yes.
And the 90% should skyrocket to 1,000% after the move G5.
Yeah. Well, he's got to find king F4.
He has to
H
find-
takes G4 would be a huge mistake. It would probably allow Wesley to draw after king G3.
in fact,
He's gone
G5,
G5. He's
G4.
gone G5.
So G5, G4.
And
He's
king
played
F4.
it. He's played it.
Without
He's
any
played
thought.
it.
Rook F8 check, and very quickly, but king E3 now coming into F2 should be winning. Because the real reason is rook E8 check, king F2, if you try to give a bunch of checks, king to G1 with the threat of rook A3 checkmate. The king,
Oh my
and
God.
The king has trapped the opposing king, and the king is on E3 now after rook F8, king to E3, and Wesley could resign with clear conscience 14, 13, 12,
Check.
rook E8 check, and king will come to F2, and once the king comes to F2, it is game over. He's wisely spending his time just making sure that he's not blundering anything, but as soon as we see king F2 appear on the board, look at that,
King F2.
99%. King F2 played, and Wesley So is going to be the unhappiest person.
He
in
is
the
going to
world.
be so upset.
This is the equivalent of gambling away a ton of money, and it's actually what has happened.
Oh, man.
And this is just tragic. This is really, really sad stuff.
He's got 5 seconds with
And
the 5-second
he took
delay.
on H5, and after rook A4 with the threat of rook H4
Oh, rook
checkmate.
A4.
This is just deadly stuff.
But is he going to see rook A4? That's the question.
I mean, he's seen everything. I'm pretty
He's
sure
seen
he's going to
everything
find
this
rook
game.
A4.
He has seen everything. Will he see rook A4? If he sees that, it's good night Vienna.
The problem is rook A3 check doesn't quite work. King G4, and
And-
there's too many pawns to deal with
Yes.
here. Rook E3, usually that would be winning, cutting off the rook, but unfortunately, after rook E3, king E3, we both queened. It doesn't work. So G takes H5 on the board here. Look at that, 99%, but that actually is only one winning move, and that is rook A4. So Vasif Dirbeli, considering his options,
What a moment.
he is going to find rook A4.
He
I
is
can assure
one
you.
move away from beating So Wesley.
Is going to beat Wesley in this game after rook A4, and Wesley, the defending champion, will go down. But let's be fair, even if he loses this game, he still has chances, but heartbreaking with the white pieces, a perfect opportunity to go to 4-0. And what's interesting, we've seen a lot of black wins so far in this round. And Vasif Dirbeli, as the clock counts down, 223, 222, 221, 220, it's okay. He's going to spend the time, and he'll find rook A4. He's a very strong grandmaster. And after rook A4, Wesley can just
It
tip
is
his
the
king over.
only, absolutely the only way to win this
Yes.
position.
He found it.
He
He's
found it.
He's a guy.
What a guy.
Rook F8, king E3, and
Wesley
king F3.
knows it's over for him.
Oh, 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Rook F8.
This is heartbreaking.
Fantastic way to finish this game here. It looks like they're just blitzing out the moves. Rook F8.
And
that's
Wesley
it.
has resigned.
I mean,
It's over.
It's absolutely over. He went rook takes F4 check. And the one thing he was waiting for here was that if G takes F4 in the game, well, actually now white survives after A7. So if we can pull up the board here as we see them talk to each other, it seems like, I mean, Wesley's clearly upset. He just stared right into our souls here. And it really hurts me to see him like this because it's his birthday. He was gunning for 4-0 here. And as he said last year, he won his 2 games on his birthday. This year he's trying to do the same, but he could not replicate that success. And Vasif, I mean, wow, look at him. I mean, he's wearing his Webster University team jacket, and he has survived by the skin
What
of
a
his
game.
teeth.
That's probably the most impressive game I've seen of the tournament. Just because to be that resilient under that much pressure against the reigning champion, to come back like he did, as I said, I'm so impressed by this young man, and now the tournament is just wide open.
Right.
It is wide open. It's beautiful. It's great for us. It's great for the spectators, and we're going to have lots more action over the coming days.
Right, Wesley So is not going to have much sleep tonight. I mean, what was that position in the opening? It was absolutely winning. We thought he's going to wrap it up, have a good night in Vegas, and how the tables turned. And Durrar Belli
time to wrap up.
completely killed it.
Yeah, I mean, a really tragic ending there for Wesley So. A fantastic player. He'll bounce back. And, you know, at 3 out of 4, he still is in contention. We don't want to count him out. We don't want to make it sound as the end of the world. But psychologically, this will be nearly impossible to bounce back from. And so, you know, there are lots of people still in the running here at the Millionaire Chess Open.
Right, Robert. It is wide open now. And this is where it stands currently. After today's round, we've got Yu Yangyi, Lei Kuanglian, Farev, and Durrar Belli, who have all gone on 4 points with amazing play today. Absolutely brilliant chess. We've got Hikaru Nakamura, Ray Robson, Arthur Jakubik, Luke McShane, Azarov, and Stu Koppen not far behind with just 3.5. These guys have just dropped half a point. With Wesley's loss, like you said, it's wide open now, and this is where we are at. Lawrence, over to you.
Yeah, what a day. What a day. More upsets, more blood, more tears, more action and more drama. That's exactly why we're here. Remember to join us with the same time, same place tomorrow. We're going to be covering round 5 from 1 p.m. Pacific time. So be here because we're going to have a lot of exciting matchups, and we're going to see if some of the top seeds who have fallen from grace can claw their way back to the top, or are we going to see the resurgence of some of these very strong players, but certainly not the favorites before the tournament? Are we going to see more upsets? I think we will. Can't wait for the action to begin tomorrow.
Absolutely, Lawrence, and we will see you tomorrow.
Okay. Mic check. Yes, we're here. Okay. We are with one of the tournament leaders, Vasif Durabaili from Azerbaijan, Grandmaster, defeating Wesley So. That was one heck